Ah, yes. Moisten my lips. I'm going to see how many times I can say moist before the guys get back. Moist. 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 This was recorded on July 11th, 2022.
July?
Yeah?
Nice.
What?
You got caught up when you said July. I was just making fun of you.
Oh, I thought you forgot what month it was.
No. Is it July? That was all.
Cool.
Just bullying time.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Joystick Frequency, a video game podcast that doubles as a video game book club where you're a member just by listening in. I'm your host, Trent. Joining me today are my co-host, Walker. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And Brady.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here as always.
Last time we had the guest on, my friend Liam, and we talked about Tiny Tina's Wonderland. This time, we're going to talk to you about Tunic. It's a wonderful Zelda-like game, and it's really cute, and it was a very enjoyable game. But first, we're going to just go ahead and listen to everyone's months and see what we've been playing. So, Walker, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of stuff. Combination of the Lego Star Wars Complete Edition. I've been playing through that with my partner. It's been an absolute blast. Although very, very packed to the brim with just stuff to collect, which is great. I love that kind of stuff. But, oh man, there's so much. In addition, I've also been playing, playing through a game called Forager, which is a delightful little game where it's just a resource management and collection game. Perfect game to pop on when you're awake at 3 in the morning and have nothing else to do. You just put on some music and grind some stuff out there. It was really fun. I would recommend it.
Okay, Brady, what about you? What have you been doing this month?
I've been playing a couple of games. The first of those is Dragon's Dogma. It is a really old game from like 2012, 2013, where you are the hero and you are attacked by a dragon and then you go and kill the dragon.
My friend, you cannot be saying games from 2012 are old. You're gonna get us roasted.
My guy, that's a decade.
I understand it's a decade still.
As far as video games go, that's pretty old.
Also, I just want to point out, you're describing Skyrim.
The difference between Dragon's Dogma and Skyrim is that in Dragon's Dogma, you can climb on monsters. Like physically climb them and stab them in the face. It's really fun. The reason I'm playing it is because Capcom had just announced that they are working on a Dragon's Dogma 2, and I wanted to play it again before that one came out in like 3 years. The other game I've been playing is Marvel's Avengers. It's a just awful game. I do not recommend it to anyone. The only reason I'm playing it is because I bought it pre-release like an idiot. Didn't realize it was completely full of microtransactions. But since I already own it, it is a fun way to just roll around as the Avengers and fight armies of basic robots.
Damn, not often we get a game that we don't recommend you play on here.
Look,
sorry to hear that.
If you have Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos money, this may be a game that's worth it for you. It is truly ridiculously microtransactions and just very anti-consumer practices all throughout the game. So I can't endorse it.
All right, answer me this then. More microtransactions than Diablo or no?
No, it isn't pay to win. The microtransactions are mostly cosmetic. All of the things that affect your game mechanics you can grind for yourself, but there are ways to speed that up. It's not as bad as Diablo Immortal, but that's like saying this famous disaster is not as bad as the Titanic. That's a very high bar to get to. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
I've heard pretty rough things about the Marvel Avengers game, so just more confirmation to that never hurts.
Yeah. The game is fun, gameplay-wise, a little bit. It gets really repetitive, and you got to pay a lot of money. So,
fantastic.
That's no on my list. So this month I played a couple. I I don't want to say old games, but games that have come out in the not as recent as the ones that we review. I started with Limbo earlier this month, and it's pretty it was an enjoyable experience. It's a quick game. It's simple controls. Most of it's movement and jumping and trying to time your jumps correctly and everything. So like it's just essentially a platform, but it's like not a difficult platform in that sense. It's more like a platformer as a storytelling device more than anything, honestly. It was very enjoyable. I almost got all the achievements in it, but there's one last one where you have to beat the game dying less than 5 times. And I was going to do it. You have to do it in one sitting. My internet cut out the best attempt I had. And then the next day, it was no longer on Game Pass. And I'm like, I'm not going to buy a game just to get the last achievement in. I'll wait for it to come to Game Pass again. And then the other one is actually a gift from Walker and his partner themselves. They gave me the Ori Collector's Edition, the one that came with the Blind Forest and the Will of the Wisp. I popped out the Blind Forest and played that again. One of my favorite games that I played, I would say top 25 favorite games of all time. Another platformer, and it's just a very enjoyable game. It's one of those games you can just, after you beat it, you can pop in headphones and just play it and have fun. Except for the achievements where you have to do the game without dying or on one life mode. Those I have officially said, yeah, that's not for me anymore. Because even on easy, I died 150 some odd times in my first playthrough. So I'm not going to go through trying to bash my head against that wall.
All right, are we ready to jump into it?
I guess so. I guess we get just general first thoughts before anything.
Do we want to do a game summary, or did you already do that?
No, I mean, it's all good.
I think it.
I was thinking introducing the game.
Yeah, I think it makes
the type of game it is. Sorry, Brady.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with. I think it makes more sense to have a little blurb about what the game is before we talk about our feelings on it. Because if we just say, "Hey, I like this game," it had really unique mechanics or whatever we want to talk about, spoiler free, obviously, that we liked about the game. It would make more sense to have that in the context of what the game is.
All right, then go whenever you're ready.
Tunic is an action-adventure game developed by Canadian indie developer Andrew Schuldes and is published by Finji. The game is very Zelda-like in the exploration and very Dark Souls-like in its combat system. What are y'all's thoughts initially going in, spoiler-free?
Spoiler-free, I have to say this game produced one of my favorite puzzles I've ever seen in a game, period. And I think that's like as much as I can say about it without spoiling anything. It's a great game. I wish it was longer, just so I could get more of it. It was so good.
Like Trent, I also thought that this game had some incredible puzzles in it, not just in the normal exploration way, but in a more overarching way. And that's as much as I can get into it. Again, spoiler free. Definitely recommend to everybody. One of the best indie games I've played in a very long time.
This game has been one of the most nostalgic, fresh experiences I have had in years. It really encompasses, it really just takes and puts together everything from that I loved about the original Zelda games. Again, I can't go too much into it without giving much spoilers. We'll hit a mark here and then we'll all be blubbering about it, I'm sure. But the story, the way this game unfolds and gives you information and teaches you how to play, it's magical. The story itself is fantastic. I would highly, highly recommend this game to anyone.
Yeah, I've never had so much fun learning how a game functions before.
Yes, 100%.
That, like, oh my god, the way they did it is just beautiful. This game slaps, and that's why we're going to drop it right here. Do not play this game spoiled. Do not let it be spoiled for you.
Please go in
blind.
Fresh and blind as you can. Just take our word for it. This game is good. It's worth the $30 if you wanted to buy it on Steam. It's free on Game Pass. Please go play this game. It's so good.
And please do not watch the rest of this podcast until you've played this game. We will be going into spoilers, and it will ruin your experience of the game if you listen to this before you've played it.
And with that, this is the official cutoff. This is where spoilers are going to start for the game. So turn us off and come back and talk to us later after you play this game. It's only a 10, 15-hour game, 20 if you're like us and 100%ing everything. Just go play it. Please, for us.
Interesting tactic to beg people not to watch your podcast, but hey, I figured we had to.
Question, would you guys like me to read the story segments from the beginning of the manual?
Yes, 100%.
A long, long time ago, there lived a civilization of great power. They built a city, and within that city they built a palace. They held the sacred secrets of the Holy Cross and understood the plainer nature of reality. They ventured to the far shore and sought power from the spaces between. As it is usual, an alluring old power was discovered. Fossils of self, annulled visions of the future, entombed and cast in sarcophagi and buried. A lever in the canonical plane, a store of potential. Perhaps it's the fabled prize, the power to defy death. A terrible power arises. The discovering hero opened a tomb and revealed a terrible truth. A cathedral was built to venerate the new origin of life, and the faithful were granted the grace of holy oblivion. The world is thrown into ruin. The lever overworked, the fulcrum shattered. A hole in truth will thunder open, and all manner of disquiet contradictions will gnaw apart the canonical plane. The thread is snagged onto the squirming coil with no beginning and no end. Flee to your arcs, old ones, and become your predestined selves. A prison and a beacon. But one must live outside the shivering ring. The air seeking an heir to the air. A beacon to bring about a ruin seeker. To either grow strong and replace an ailing heir, or to hold sacred holy cross and ensure the wisdom lives on. Awaiting a worthy successor. Which will you be, ruin seeker? Have you arrived here seeking the treasure and glory? Or do you seek to uncover deeper truths? Look carefully, for the golden path lies everywhere. This is the story at the beginning of the completed manual that you get in Game of Tunic, and it lays everything out. But there is no way to read this language until you get to the end, until you go through breaking it down. Or, like me, you look it up online, because trying to decipher a phonetic language is going to be a nightmare and a half. But people did it, and the lore that's built through these pages in this world is just incredible.
I've never seen a game that had its own language that it trusts the player to decipher, or at least, if you're not going to put in the effort to decipher, that it at least gives you enough context to where you can actually figure some parts of it out. And like you said, that's the beginning of the thing. I knew none of that. Because I didn't decipher it, but I knew you could. I wish I had the time to go through and decipher it myself, because just how good this game was.
I will go ahead and send the link into our Discord. I recommend you guys go through and read the manual, because everything, all those letters, it's actual text and lore for the world. There's so much depth that's built into it. It's just, there's so much information, and it's incredible to learn about it. But even without that, you know most of that already just through context clues. You can kind of piece together this story through the environmental storytelling, specifically through areas like the far shore and the rooted ziggurat, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But what? I don't even know what to say. This game is so freaking good. Should we just start from the beginning then? From our own experiences?
Yeah.
Alright. Playing Tunic, we boot it up. You get a very cool start screen, very reminiscent of, classic Zelda-like games from the NES period and so on. And when you jump right in, you give a quick view of the world as the camera pans across. And you zoom into your little fox boy in a very cute tunic. And you have nothing to go off of, but you climb some stairs and you make your way into the world.
You find a house with a stick. You learn to equip it and to swing at things, and then you follow what little bit of the language you can to know that there's a sword in the East Forest, and then you go to the East Forest to find the sword, and now you have a better weapon. But other than that, you don't really know what you're doing quite yet.
Except there are pages that you can go through and collect that are the tutorial, the maps, the keys to all the secrets in the game. But you don't know this at first. It just looks like a pretty standard tutorial screen. You're given, oh gosh, the first one that you find, is it the one that just shows you the controls?
Well, the first it varies because each one is like in a set destination. The first one my friend Nathan found was at that very first plate. He went and he held A on it, and it teleported him to the far shore. And he found that was the first page he found, was the one in the far shore.
He discovered the praying mechanic immediately?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And I don't remember where the first one I found was. It was probably in the East Forest. But you're slowly piecing this manual together, and you see that it has the page numbers down at the bottom. You know how to count, so you're like, this isn't right. This isn't the beginning. But it gives you, you start out with page 17 or 34 or whichever one you manage to get first. And you slowly use this book that you're piecing together to keep going through area after area and just finding out more secrets until you finally figure out your mission to go and rescue the heir from this kind of prison. Yeah, this prison that you need these specific 3 gems to go get. And you get those gems and you come back to release her, all the while learning more and more about the land. And you release her, and she fucking stabs you.
Yeah. Brady, what were your initial thoughts going into the game?
I can't say my initial thoughts and keep this podcast PG because it was a lot of very panicked, oh crap, what am I supposed to do now?
This is not a PG podcast.
This is not a PG podcast. Okay, my main thoughts were, oh fuck, these are enemies, how do I fight them? What buttons do I press to do things? I want to say one of the first manual pages I found was the map, and that is how I treated the manual for the first several hours of the game. I kind of glanced at the other pages and didn't read too much into it. And I stumbled my way through things, but for the longest time, all I knew how to do was swing my sword and dodge. Trent can back me up on this. For a while, I didn't know that you could raise your stats. I thought that the stats you had at the beginning of the game were the stats you had through the whole game, I got through the first, to the point where you are supposed to find the gems with a sword and the lowest health, mana, and stamina bar, just because the game never explicitly tells you how to raise your stats. You have to figure that out on your own by reading the manual, and I was just treating it as a map. Once I figured out that, you need this manual, this is an integral part of the game, it got a lot easier and a lot more fun because I was finally playing the whole game and not just half of it.
What's your confession?
My confession is I did not find the page that had the overworld map until near the end of the game. So I didn't know that there was a map for the main area for the longest time. I think it was right before I set about, right before I collected all the stones.
You poor
But I finally found the overworld map, and I'm like, oh, crap. You know when it was, actually? I finally went back to the area. There's this giant skull-faced cavern that you cannot have access to initially. And I was just like, oh, well, I don't know how to get over there. I'll figure it out at some point, I guess, maybe. And eventually when you get the teleporting wreath, I was like, oh, I'll go back. And I stumbled by. I was like, oh, this is the overworld map. This would have been very helpful.
Oh, so that was after the 3 stones.
That's at the end of the game.
Yup.
Damn.
Yeah, boy.
There are other pages that have maps for different areas, though.
I was like, oh, this is very nice that like the different areas have maps, but strange there's not one for the overworld. But then again, there's not one for the East Forest either. So I was like, it's probably fine. It's probably normal. Nah.
Well, now that we've started talking about the world in general, let's talk a little more in depth about the specific areas that Tunic has for us to explore. The first one that you find yourself in is the East Forest. It is as the name implies, very forested area, lots of trees and small shrubs that you can't cut because you only have a stick.
It's very east.
Very east, very forest.
Very forest as well.
The next one, unless you have further thoughts.
Well,
Yeah, I would like to expound upon each one.
Yeah, I think we dive in a little bit to each one.
So, my thoughts on the East Forest. This is the perfect tutorial segment of the game. This teaches you the base mechanics that you're going to need for most of the experience. I actually just had a friend of mine go through and play the game because I was really wanting him to play as well. So I brought him over. I'm like, hey, here, try this for a little bit. I started a new game and let him go. I let him play up through the East Forest because it's your first experience to collecting some of the pages. It's your first experience trying to figure out how the layout of the world works. You can find a lot of different secrets. And it also leads you through your first main item, which is your sword, and your first health potion, and your first boss fight. Just very well put together, I thought.
It also has that one area that that teaches you, hey, if you go too far, these enemies are a little too strong for you to deal with. You're gonna have to come back here if you want to get what's here. With that little small island with the spiders, I went in there and I got my ass kicked. I was like, surely they don't expect me to beat this. There's like 5 of them, and I can barely even take down one. I did use most of my bombs to go back and get my life or my little echo back, and I ended up killing most of them. But then the last one killed me, but right by the entrance. So I was just like, all right, I'm not trying again. Just go grab my echo by the entrance and get out.
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts about the East Forest besides what these two have already said. It was an excellent tutorial area. It was one of the reasons going into Tunic, you may assume that you get your first weapon and that's your weapon for the game. There were some end-level NPCs that you had to fight that made me realize that, I need a way to upgrade myself, get better equipment, get better gear, which if you've played classic Zelda games, you don't really do that. The sword you get is the sword you use. It very vaguely hinted that there was more that you needed to do in this game if you wanted to succeed. That's my thoughts on the East Forest.
All right, we move on to the West Garden. Yeah, I know, east, west.
Big surprise there.
So tell me, what direction is the West Garden?
North.
Believe it or not, it's west. We didn't talk about the big thing at the end. It was you smacked the massive tuning fork, and apparently have to light 2 of them to continue on, get the door open to the cathedral.
Oh yeah.
Or not cathedral, but the temple.
Yeah, the Eastern Bell Tower. So we kind of skipped over just the overworld in general, but the overworld it's its own thing. There's not really many important things there. There's a couple secrets and things to make you stronger, but it's more used for figuring out paths to each of the different areas. But in order to get to where you find out what the main quest of the game is, you have to activate these 2 bell towers that are on opposite sides of the overworld. And the only way to get them is to go through the East Forest to come out back into the overworld to hit the right one, and then go into the West Garden, come back out the other side again to hit the left one. So anyway, the West Garden, I really enjoyed the West Garden. I like the crocodile enemies. The crocodile enemies are fantastic. They have 2 legs and they just run at you on 2 legs. They remind me of T-Rexes the same they remind me of crocodiles, and I enjoyed this area. You get your first instance of some technology or magic based enemies, whatever they are, with the little square flying, I don't know what to call them, like sentries, I guess.
Let me tell you something. Those sentries are one of my least favorite enemies in the campaign. They are incredibly easy to kill. But
Fairies?
it varies. But they also have this weird interaction with the overworld. It's not unintentional, but it is not fun for me. Where you can be right next to them, but because they can fly, they are above you. And if you swing, you do not hit them, but they can still shoot you. And I died so many times because I thought I was safe to swing and stop blocking, and then got hit because the sentry thing was just a few feet above my head. Not the most frustrating enemy in the game, but one of the more common ones that I found. Frustrating is the wrong word. Challenging.
I would say they're a good test enemy to see how good you are at dodging at this point, because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
They definitely work very well as a nuisance to litter the area.
Yes, a very good nuisance swarm enemy.
Real quickly, the manual translated does have little blurbs for each of these areas going forward. Would you like me to read them as we're introducing the areas?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so for the West Gardens. To the west of the Great Palace are the gardens. Many paths are broken, but there is a way. So there's a couple little, some are longer than others, but there are little blurbs throughout the manual.
Okay.
Additionally, in the manual, you get a rundown of all the different enemies in the area, which we've already talked about some of them, save for the boss, which we will get to in a minute. There's also little blurbs about the items you can find, including, in this area, the magic dagger. What'd y'all think of the magic dagger?
I used the magic dagger in the first boss fight, and then never again. It was a very useful item, but once you get the grenades that have basically the same effect, I would rather spend my mana on more damaging items.
That's fair. I felt the ice dagger was a great way, or I call it the ice dagger because that's the effect that comes off of it. But the magic dagger was a great way for me to stun an enemy, give me a chance to heal if I needed it, or get a couple free hits in, like a full combo. Also, if y'all didn't know, I'll get to it a little bit later, you can combine the usage of this with the magic rod later, and you get a projectile version of the freezing effect, which is extremely useful.
What?
I didn't find that out until after I had pretty much beaten the game, except for the final boss, and I was searching for the little secrets.
I'm finding that out right now. That's amazing.
There's a lot of really good interconnectivity between the different items. I feel like this is one of the main ones. You can also loop it in with the magic orb, which we will talk about later.
Oh.
But yeah, that's really nice. There's a little magic dagger here to help us out with the boss fight coming up.
Yeah, that boss fight being the it was just called the West Garden, the West Guardian or something like that, right?
I think it was something like that. I don't have a name here, unfortunately, but its description reads: blocks the way to the bell tower, will kill you, and it did in fact kill me many a time.
This is the first check in the game.
It is the first check.
Yeah, where it's like, hey, you're gonna learn this combat, or you're not gonna beat this game, and that's actually where I learned that you could do a roll slash.
Yes, the roll slash was very helpful in this boss fight for closing distance and getting a solid hit in, because it did slightly more damage than your standard slash.
Yeah, as well as the magic dagger was really good in this fight, because you could full combo during one of the boss's moments of reprieve, ice dagger it, and then full combo again to get a lot of damage down, and then get out before he could attack you. And I realize now how easy it is to parry this boss, but I did not know, I learned about the parry and did not even think to try parrying this boss. But later on, down the game, I learned that parrying is so fucking crucial in this game, and so good.
Parrying is extremely useful. I think I stumbled upon it just before collecting all the stones, slightly before the manual teaches you how to do it. but slightly too late to be useful in some of the boss fights where it would have been super useful.
I will just have to take your word for how useful parrying is. I did not learn or use parry at all in my run through, mostly because I didn't use the shield too much. I was more of a dodge to avoid damage type of person, so I never really used the parry. But I will say the ice dagger was absolutely a lifesaver when it came to that West Garden boss.
Yeah, I bet so, with fucking no stats, you fool.
Yeah. Not fun. One more thing to say about the West Garden before we move on. The West Garden has my favorite NPC in the game. When you first get to the West Garden, there is a little windmill building that you can go in. And if you go into it, there's no light. It's just all dark. You can't even see the floor. And you walk for a distance, and then a giant skeleton fox shows up. And my first thought was, oh shit, I'm not ready to face this boss yet. And then it just brings up some items that you can buy. It's just a merchant that is a skeleton. And I love him.
My first thought, I instantly had flashbacks to High King Wolnir from Dark Souls 3, who is the giant skeleton head boss that breathes smog that instantly kills you and starts climbing your way. Unfortunately, I don't think these two know about that, but anyone else who's played Dark Souls 3 knows what I'm talking about here. But yeah, he was just the shopkeep, and it wasn't the West Garden that I found him for. The windmill actually is in the overworld, if that's what you're talking about. The West Garden one is behind the wishing well. Actually, that's where you can find him in the West Garden. There are multiple locations you can find him. I don't know if you actually knew that, Brady.
I found at least two of those. I found the one in the overworld in the windmill, and I found the one where I forget the name of the place. It's like I think it's the East Garden Vault or Fortress, where you fight the candle foxes for the first time.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I found that one.
So, go ahead.
Are you about to talk about the map?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah, so
if you take
go ahead.
a very close look at the map, when I say very close look, I mean very, very close look. You have to zoom in.
Zoom in on that bitch.
Zoom in on that bitch, because if you look just above where the little symbol of the fox is that would symbolize your save points, there are two blue eyes staring at you from darkness. And anytime you see two blue eyes staring at you from darkness, that's where your fox homeboy is going to be.
Oh.
There's a sheet, or one of the pages later on in the manual does kind of hint at this, just showing a couple different instances of little blue eyes. And if you go check it out, you sure enough will find it.
I do also want to point out that you say this is your favorite NPC in the game. There aren't many. There are not many. I think it's this guy and the heir, and you end up fighting the heir, so I don't even think you classify him as an NPC anymore.
Well, there's
spoilers for late game. There are a lot of NPCs. You just don't interact with them because they're all ghosts.
The plane of death, yeah.
Fair.
Side note, I will try to find... I do believe Skullman has a name in the manual. I will try to find it, and I will update y'all when I do.
All right. Well, before you start looking for that in the manual, let's actually move on to the... Does the manual specifically name the couple of locations that are like that you access in the overworld? So like the very dark place where you go to find the lantern first?
Yes, so we did skip over those because I do believe you actually run through those before you get to the West Garden. We'll cover them really quickly because I think they're very nice, like mini dungeons. You have Under the Well, which, as the name implies, is under the well. The description reads, flooded layer beneath the surface filled with monsters. Walking in the water will slow you, but also some foes as well. Watch out for what lies below. And this is the area that introduces one of my favorite enemies, the Slorm, which is the exploding octopus. And it also introduces the Auto Bolt. And I think you can find a shield in this area, is that correct?
That's probably where you found the shield, now that I think about it, because I'm pretty sure, I know for a fact you had the shield before West Garden.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then, additionally, there is the Dark Tomb, which you need the lantern to properly navigate.
But it doesn't give you the lantern before you're supposed to navigate it, I will say.
It absolutely does not. Yeah, and then additionally on this page, it hints at the cave beneath the fortress, which we'll get to in a minute. There's a tiny little blurb concerning the Dark Tomb. It says, "Beneath the earth are many scary places. Be sure to take a lantern."
I absolutely had the lantern before I explored the Dark Tomb.
I didn't.
I went in, died, and then went out, assuming I'd have some better way to do that later. And I got the lantern and was able to come back before it stopped my progress.
I went in, I fought things in the dark, I killed things in the dark, and I got out of there. Like, I went through the entire thing without the lantern. Just by, like constantly spamming, move forward a bit, open map. Move forward a bit, open map. Looking for the little X's that they have on the map that signal spike pits or some spikes.
Granted, this is coming from the dude who stumbled into the quarry through the back fucking entrance and tried to brute force his way through that as well. Did you successfully brute force your way through it, or did you end up going the right way around?
No, I brute forced it.
Fucking nice.
Damn.
So, for those of you who don't know, yes, you absolutely can take this game in any order you want. There are options to get basically anywhere on the map. Some routes, there is obviously like a route that's you're guided to as a first-time player, but there are so many paths to get in between different areas, shortcuts. You can very easily cut your way through a lot of the different segments once you know where the secret paths are at.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts about the map design, was there were so many hidden entrances and shortcuts that are just blocked by overworld scenery or the angle of certain cliffs and mountainsides. They were so fun because it's like, wow, I was just here and I didn't even think to walk behind this tree to look for a secret path.
They really play with the camera in this one.
They really
very
do.
rarely will your camera actually move to where you're if you're moving around, behind something or around something, and they still expect you to find whatever item's hidden back there.
Yeah, my way to navigate this game, my go-to way, was to constantly be spamming the lock-on button, because it slightly changes the camera angle. If you slightly change the camera angle, it does reveal like just enough of the world to be able to kind of sneak through there. My classic gamer intuition of like, oh, explore every corner, very, very much paid off in this game. This definitely felt like a game designed for people like me, which was fantastic to play.
All right, moving on to the next area. So, heading into the fortress of the Eastern Vault next.
One key to the Shadow Obulate is guarded by the last gate machine of war. When the siege was done, this beast was coaxed into this lonely purpose. That is the snippet for the Forest of the Eastern Vault.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, because it alludes to our fucking awful, the boss that I hated the most of the Fortress of the Eastern Vault, which we will get to in a minute, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He was my favorite boss.
Really?
Of all of them, yes.
Interesting. So this is the first area, I believe, that you're introduced to like actual living, like my bad, bipedal living into like enemies here.
So real quickly, I want to jump in. This is the segment of the game where after you light the Western Bell Tower, you're finally able to enter the cathedral, and you are taught the praying mechanic. Do we want to go into the praying mechanic real quick?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because that is very big in this next area.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out I was wrong about the bipedal. You've been fighting guards this entire time. I was trying to hit more towards the candle magic people. So
yes. Yeah. So once you get into the cathedral, you see, some really cool architecture. You get up and you find these 3 glowing rings with little slots. And at least my little brain went, I need to collect the Kokiri Emerald, the Goron Ruby, and the Zora Sapphire. Ha 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 ha. What could possibly go wrong? This is standard gaming affair. And then you are taught the praying mechanic by a page that you find, which was available to you the mechanic itself is available to you the whole time. But if you press and hold the A button, or whatever equivalent it is on PC, It gives you access to a couple different things throughout the map, including activating these obelisks that you've seen around the map here and there, which send a huge amount of power to different areas, and will also let you interact with the golden plates that are on the ground.
That send you to the far shore.
Takes you to the far shore, and this is a really cool fast travel system, I think.
Yeah. I guess we can cover the fast travel aspect of the far shore pretty much, because once you learn the praying mechanic here, you do it and you go, and only the plates that you've prayed at are highlighted. So you realize that, okay, I can't go anywhere right now, so I guess I just need to go find more gold plates. And then it didn't occur to me until the second plate that I realized, oh, it's a fast travel mechanic. I went and found a second plate, prayed at it, and then I was able to travel from the overworld to the Fortress of the Eastern Vault, because that was the first one I found. Or the second one I found, technically. And it's really important that you unlock as many of these as possible, I feel like, because it'll make your life easier in the late game.
So, can I actually reveal a little something?
Yeah.
It's not which ones you touch and pray at, it's which ones actually receive power from the obelisks that you interact with. Because once you get into the
oh, that's true.
The Shadow Obulate, there is a secret plate you can go to that will actually take you underground, and you find it later because it's how you escape the area that we'll get to beneath the quarry. But there's an additional plate, which is the only way to get to the Ruined Atoll for the first time.
Technically, it's not the only way to get to the Ruined Atoll, although you can't access the main area without that plate, I will say.
Gotcha. Yeah, fair.
I went to the Ruined Atoll, killed a bird, and then was like, is that all here? Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, Fortress of the Eastern Vault. Like I said, they have these candle wizards that they'll hit you and light you on fire, where the stop, drop, and roll mechanic's never been more profound, or they'll summon this magic square that will zap you if you're standing on top of it whenever by the time it completes. So I thought those are some really unique enemies.
And there is a slightly buffer version of that enemy too, which has a whole ass candelabra, and that enemy fucked me up the first couple times I encountered it until I realized Ice Dagger puts out fire.
Really?
Yep. If you use the Ice Dagger, it takes away its ability to use the fire. It can still smack you with the candelabra, but it takes away a lot of its options.
Huh.
See, my problem fighting that enemy is that there are a couple of those wizards, like, in elevated locations that will still shoot the little squares at you. But if you have used all of your mana by the time you get there, there's no way to attack them unless you run around the map and look for the back entrance to wherever they're standing. So I was trying to fight this guy and dodge squares from an enemy that I couldn't kill because I'd already shot people with a gun too many times.
Question. At this point, had y'all actually gotten the magic rod?
Yes.
Yes, I remember using that a lot on the siege engine. So
I did not get the magic rod. I went back later and I found it just before, about halfway through the Ruined Atoll. I'm like, okay, something's not right here. I feel like I'm missing something, and I went back to explore for a bit, and sure enough.
Do the Candelabra guys, do they use any magic or anything? Because I don't think I ever saw one of them cast a spell. I was just like, instantly, he's bigger than the other guys. I'm killing him first.
I think they just swipe at you with their candelabras.
They swipe at you and deal a lot of damage with the hits and catch you on fire.
Okay.
Unless you put out the fire.
Oh, okay. I was thinking, like, oh, that's probably a bigger mage. I don't even want to see what he does. So I did. Or I tried to make sure that I didn't. Joke's on me, he didn't have anything.
Do we want to talk about the boss?
Fuck yes, let's talk about this goddamned boss.
One thing before the boss, actually. This is the first area after you learn the praying mechanic that has a golden plate that takes you to the hero statue.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very crucial. Once you learn the locations of the hero statue, write that shit down. Remember that shit. Because you're going to have to go back there at the end of the game if you want to beat the game.
Technically.
And it's a lot harder to get there. Technically, yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into this boss. How many deaths, guys? Did y'all count?
The last machine of war, Siege Engine. Fuck this guy, dude.
3 or 4 deaths, maybe.
I think I only had 4 or 5, but he scared me so bad in my initial fight because he is massive. This, I think, is the biggest boss that you fight? Question mark?
Size-wise,
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah. He's huge. He takes up so much screen, and he does a lot of damage initially. After I got my ass kicked once or twice, I was like, okay, I'm going to explore around a little bit. And this was the first time where I tried praying at one of the gold plates and ended up in the far shore. And I actually just kind of wandered around, found myself in the ruined atoll, and beat most of the ruined atoll before going back and trying to face the siege engine.
Yeah.
See, I saw a giant enemy and thought, oh, that guy's big. I bet I can run underneath him. And you can't. You can run in between his legs and get behind him, and he can't attack you because of the angle you're at if you run around him. And there's a weak spot on his back that you can attack. Like when he's trying to spin around to get facing you, you can just attack him and keep running around behind him.
That's how I ended up getting.
Yeah.
I was getting underneath of him, but oh my gosh, I was so scared initially.
This is probably the only boss I feel like I didn't learn 100%, that I more just got a lucky sequence of his attacks and was able to beat him because of it. He did the machine gun a lot for me, and whenever that happened, I would just run behind a pillar that he hadn't knocked over yet and be fine. Run out, get a couple swipes on him and stuff. I think like I said, fuck it, and used a fuck ton of bombs on him as well, just because I was having no luck or anything. I probably died to him probably 10 times or something like that. Like this one was kind of hard for me. I did try and stick next to him, but if you stick next to him in the front, I could not run under him or anything, or at least maybe he stopped me the couple times I tried, so I didn't think it was possible. And so the entire time I was fighting him, I would stay in close and be like on the right of his leg or something like that. And anytime he went to go attack, he would sometimes like push me into the way of the next attack that he throws out, and I would just like get hit pretty much. So it was more I got a lucky sequence more than I actually learned this boss to beat him.
Yeah, you can't run directly underneath him, but like where his legs are, you can run in between his body and the foot. So what I did is I just rolled and sprinted and around his back, and would duck under his back legs if he tried to attack, because if you're anywhere in the front like cone of where he's looking, you can be damaged. If you're behind him, that's a safe spot. He can't damage you there.
Yeah. He also had the homing like bomb attack. I know I got that one a lot of times, and that attack can actually damage him if you manage to
if you get close enough to him.
maneuver it into him. So I got pretty lucky on mine to be able to beat him.
All right. I mean, I don't have too much else to say other than he was big and scary, and he messed me up quite a few times.
Yeah, let's go into the ruined atoll. I think this was my favorite boss, honestly.
Boss-wise, very cool, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. That boss is at the end of the area, Trent. Let's slow down. Ruined Atoll is where you first learn to actually like use the prayers to drop the obelisk, and yeah, it was a really good area. I enjoyed this area.
I've got a little snippet for it. Would y'all like to hear?
Yeah.
Let's go.
The ruined atoll. Under the library is the skeleton of a great abbey that served as its annex. Once, some others made this their home and built on the ruins. Only Flower and Fauna live here now, but the frogs may be on patrol.
But the frogs may be on patrol.
And on patrol they are at the very end of this area.
Yeah. So there's actually a side area that this leads to called the Frog Domain, and don't go into the Frog Domain early. But if you go into the Frog Domain, you're going to get, personally, my favorite item of the game. In my opinion, the best item of the game.
Oh, I would agree. I don't really have, before we go into that, I don't have too much to say about the ruined atoll itself. I think the area is very cool. It teaches you, it's split off into kind of 4 different segments, each with like little challenges to get past. I thought they were all good. It was good test of endurance per se, because after you beat each quadrant, you basically open up a path back to the main area where you can save and reset all your stuff again and then continue on. Did y'all get caught and hooked by the frog enemy and then brutally beaten up top? Because I did.
I didn't get brutally beaten, but I thought I was stranded after that.
I also did as well.
Yeah, so I actually found the frog enemy up top. I found the side entrance before I actually found the correct entrance. So I was able to sneak up on him and do a lot of damage and kill him. I was like, oh, this is a chump. And then I went down into the frog domain and found another couple like him. And I was like, oh, I just got lucky.
But this guy's not a chump. He's not a chump.
He's not a chump. He's not a chump. But I do have something interesting about the ruined atoll. How do you pronounce? Is it atoll? Atoll?
Yeah. Atoll is the way I pronounce it. I think that's how it is, but I could be wrong.
I do have something.
I'm sure it's that because like the thing Bikini Bottom's based on is called the Bikini Atoll, and like that's what I've heard like professionals call it. So I think it is atoll.
Atoll. Okay. So I do have something interesting to say about the ruined atoll. At the bottom left of the ruined atoll, there is a section where the power lines that connect the obelisks are broken, and you see a lot of that pink energy coming out.
Yeah.
On an island that, as far as I know, you can't get to. You're cut off by the water. Maybe when you can teleport, you can get to it, but I didn't go back and check. You can see a energy demon fox thing. You can't fight it because it's on its own little island, and it only appears after you first turn on that obelisk. If you try to come back later and see it, I didn't see it.
No, I do remember this little guy.
It's like, oh, what
he
the
like
fuck
skitters
is that?
away very quickly once you see him for the first time. Great foreshadowing for what's to come.
I have an experience with one of the foxes coming in one of the later areas because like these guys are creepy fucks, man.
They are fucking terrifying.
Terrifying. Anyway, the frog's domain.
The frog's domain. So yeah, like we were saying, there's a little offshoot in the ruined atoll called the frog's domain, and this is actually where you get your next item. There isn't really a blurb for this area. Most of it's just picture, but this is one of the areas alluded to by the guide as to where you're supposed to find one of the gems you need.
Yeah, the item you get is the magic orb, and it's used to traverse the area as well as pull enemies in, or if the enemy's big enough or frozen, you can pull yourself to them. So traversal, those tuning forks that you see around the entire world, you can lock on to like as soon as you pick up this item, you can start locking onto them, and basically you just use the orb. And if you're using it for traversal, it's free cast, like it doesn't use any magic. If you're using it to pull an enemy or to pull yourself to a frozen enemy, then it does cost magic. But as soon as you get this, it opens so much more exploration in the overworld. Like, you probably go from doing this area to probably a solid hour and a half of exploration in the overworld just because of all the things you can access now.
I love exploration items in games. I think it's a great way to not gatekeep per se, but like block off certain areas of the game and make you feel so much stronger and powerful and quick. The teleportation also kind of falls into the same regard for me. But basically, once I had the magic orb, it was in my inventory or in my hotbar for most of the rest of the game.
I don't think I ever took the magic orb out once I had it in there. I enjoyed that. I'm an aggressive fighter, so whenever I would pretty much be like hitting people, and then they would go away to do an attack or something. I'd be like, "Nah, get your ass back here!" Fucking pull him back and start whooping his ass again and everything. I did not take it out of my inventory. It was the one I alternated between was the fire rod and the magic dagger, and if I ever needed something else, that was what I replaced, not the magic orb.
Yeah, I never used the magic orb for combat. Like, I knew it was a possibility, it just didn't really match the way I played the game. But the transversal alone made it one of my favorite items.
I agree. Yeah, I basically had two loadouts when playing this game. I had one that was just like my world exploration loadout, and then one that was my like combat-oriented loadout. But it basically involved switching out this and the magic orb and the magic dagger. Okay, so once you get into the frog's domain, before you actually find the magic orb, you find your way into a room that has, you know, all the setups for, oh, here you go, you're about to get your big unlock item, and it's empty. And there's a note there that just says, already stolen. There's no gem here, so you have to continue onward and try to hunt down this gem.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
And then that leads you to the, once you turn everything on in the ruined atoll, it finally powers this center statue, and you're not sure what to do at it. Like, there's no explanation for it or anything, so I did what any gamer did. I tried everything I could think of, and I finally prayed at it, and it made the statue rise. And then all of a sudden there was this weird power, and then a zap, and then the statue was lowered again. And I was unsure what that was. So I was like, fuck it. If I die to it, I die to it. And so I went to go stand in it, and next thing you know, I'm teleported to a floating city. Or a floating library, I guess.
Fun little thing. If you look in the manual, sorry, I know I'm kind of like the manual guy, but the manual is such a cool mechanic, and it like leads to things so early. The first time you get the page that has a bunch of information about the ruined atoll on it, if you look closely at that image where the fox is just staring up at the sky, concealed behind one of the clouds is the library itself.
Oh.
Huh.
Like on the map?
Yeah. Oh, not on the map. It's the one right before the map.
Oh.
It's just a little picture of a fox like staring up at the beach.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I know which one you were talking about. That's why I was like gonna get a floating city at some point. I just was not sure when. And then the teleporter went off, and I was like, oh, this is the flying city.
And the flying city is known as the library.
For good reason. You get so much information from the 3 pages you pick up here.
Oh,
So
I liked that they were kind of hidden in these glass containers because they were important. I don't fully remember exactly which ones you pick up, but I remember them being pretty crucial information.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think one had to do with like the cathedral.
Yeah, one had to do with the cathedral, which you won't be there for a while in the game, and so you're just like holding on to this page like, alright, I know this page has some good information on it, but what the fuck does it mean? You also get, I can't remember what the pages are myself either, but one of them was like a mechanic or something that I didn't know about until then, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. I would have to Google.
Yeah, no biggie. It's probably because there's a lot of like lore pages and stuff too. But yeah, so you make your way through this very regal library. You kind of move your way around, and eventually you can find what looks to be like an experimentation area where you can activate an isolated obelisk and like grant power to a fox saving statue as well as a teleportation plate.
yeah, so this experimentation area was really interesting to me because it was my first hint that the technology of this world was actually technology. Before then, I was in a very Legend of Zelda swords and shields and magic vibe from this game. It wasn't until I saw that, oh, this guy is using like wires and technology and almost computer-like stuff that I realized, oh, this is a technology world. We're in a post-apocalyptic era. It really cemented a lot of the themes and vibes that I had not even really paid attention to earlier in the game.
So, Walker, I actually went and looked it up to see which pages you got there. You got,
Yes.
And if you have the manual with you, you got page 40 and 41?
4041, which is, it is the map for the cathedral, but also on the alternate side for 41, it is your first viewing of the far shore in Shadow Obulet, which it's like the fast travel map.
The second one was page 50 and 51?
Page 50 is it's a little image of your foxy friend sitting very sadly and depressed at a big door in the mountains.
Oh, the mountain door.
I wonder if that's important.
The door in the mountains.
Yeah, I'd already found the mountain door by the time I got here, so I was like, oh, I know what that is.
It's a pretty cool page. And then the other side has some information about the different, I don't know exactly what they're called, but the like upgrade cards that you can use to augment your playstyle. It has a full list of all the different.
I think they're called abilities.
Abilities.
Yeah.
And then there's some like secret information on them. I guess since we're talking about this already, y'all want to talk real quickly about the cards themselves. Did y'all use any of the augment cards as you played?
Just real quick, I want to go just get the last page here. The last one was page 38 and 39.
38 and 39. 38 was the map for the quarry, as well as the map for the swamp / the old burying ground.
Ugh.
So pretty much you get all the info you need for the late game from right here. All right, ability cards. Brady, start us off.
Yeah, so when you first play the game and open up your inventory screen, there's a little empty square that you don't really know what it's for. As you progress through the game, you can eventually find ability cards. They're just little white squares with a small image printed on them. When you equip them into that slot, it gives your character different abilities, boosts, it changes out some of your stats, and lets you kind of customize how you want to play your Tunic character.
For a quick rundown, the cards that are available, I'm just going to give the names. I'm not going to give descriptions of how they work because I would highly recommend going through and experimenting with them. Some of them are explained, some of them are not. So you have the orange peril ring, the cyan peril ring, the inverted ash,
I used
the
that
anklet,
a couple times.
the perfume, the tincture, the bracer, lucky cup, muffling bell, louder echo, scavenger's mask, dagger strap, magic echo, one that's just 3 question marks, and Aura's Gem.
During mine, I definitely used Lucky Cup. Lucky Cup is probably one of the most useful ones that's out there because it's the best way to save your healing pots for like battles,
Lucky
that
Cup
you
is
need
very
them.
good for exploration, I think.
Yeah, because Lucky Cup makes it to where whenever you kill an enemy, they have a chance of dropping a heart that'll heal you about half as much as the potion I found. Whenever you find Lucky Cup, that is, at least. Obviously, because your potion's going to scale, it'll be lesser later on, but
Yeah, loved the Lucky Cup.
I used what was the last one that you said? The gem one?
Aura's Gem.
Aura's Gem? I used that one whenever I learned how to parry.
Yep, Aura's Gem was very useful.
If I can double my parry window, fuck yes, let's do it. Parry is the fucking goat.
My go-to... I'm so sorry, Brady. You can go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say I loved Magic Echo, especially for boss fights because I would die a lot. I would go and die, and then I would come back, use all of my mana on a couple of gunshots or whatever magical item worked best for that situation, then pop my Echo and refill my mana bar and get another, it basically doubles the amount of mana you can use in a battle.
Oh, fuck.
Just
That
from
makes a
one
lot
Echo.
more sense, actually. You were talking about, we'll get to the magic item gun later, because that's fucking hilarious.
The
But
best gun.
Brady, you talked a lot as we were playing through about using the gun.
It's the
quite
best item in the
frequently.
game. It's the best item in the game, bar none.
It consumes so much magic, though, so I'd never found myself using it except for, a good, solid hit on some boss enemies. But knowing that you're using the magic echo to get extra shots at it, that makes a lot of sense.
And you pronounce magic orb wrong, by the way.
I found myself using, obviously, the scavenger's mask. We'll talk about that later as it becomes prevalent.
Of course.
But the dagger strap, extremely useful. It cuts the time it takes to use the magic dagger in half, so it's near instant to proc it out, and it's fantastic. That combined with, I found myself using the peril rings a lot because it gives you a really cool last wind. Oorah. I finished a lot of boss fights with next to no health left. It feels good to clutch it out with one of those.
For how many times I clutched out a boss with one hit left on me, I should have been using the pearl rings, because I swear to God, I would have beaten a boss so many times before that. I didn't use the pearl rings at all, but every time I beat a boss, I was one hit away from dead or something. And I'm just the pearl ring would have been good here. But you know what? I like my bracer, and I'm fucking defending, so I'm I'm enjoying the bracer. Also, I have a theory. The only reason you get an ability slot at the beginning of the game is because they're there's no way they can beat this game without the scavenger mask, right?
Yeah.
This game is also very, very speedrun friendly. I think that was a very intentional use. For those of you who are listening, and you two guys know that you have a chance to, I would highly recommend going and watching the GDQ, the most recent GDQ 2022 run of Tunic. This game is broken in the best of ways, and very intentionally so. Basically, every boss has a near insta-kill or quick kill method, It's very, very fun.
I thought I found a quick kill method for the final boss. I literally put on every attack buff item, the fire sword, as well as there was one other thing I did to buff my attack. I can't remember what it was, but I went in there like, oh yeah, I ate the pepper, and I was like, I'm ready to one shot the boss. I go in there, I didn't even do a quarter of 1 bar of the health, and I'm just like, this ain't right.
Bummer.
And I got smoked.
So I guess since we're talking library, we've kind of hinted at some bosses. You want to talk about a really cool boss?
The librarian?
The librarian. The librarian has a whole page devoted to him in the manual. After you drop the obelisk, power up your save points, you notice there's a little ladder on the corner. And you can take the ladder up, and you find yourself climbing to the very top of the library, where it is dark and storming, and a shadowy figure is waiting for you at the very top. Let me go ahead and read this snippet real quick for you. Many have sought the secrets of this world, drawn by the great power and other secret legends. The librarian has learned much, including powerful sorcery. He makes his home high above the clouds, waiting for the foolish ruin seekers to bring him more pages. Although powerful, his treasure is his belief that the Holy Cross rests in the cathedral. He will never visit the far shore. Huh. This boss is sick, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Now, before we talk about the boss, I do want to... Basically, what your blurb was saying at the very end was that he would never visit the far shore.
Yep.
When you... Spoiler for the end of the game. When you die and you can see all the ghosts, when you go back to the library, you can see the librarian as a ghost.
Yep. The hubris that the page, I'm sure he maybe wrote about himself. It says he will never die, but sure enough,
he does.
He does.
He does look kind of defeated when you're his ghost in the library. He's just kind of slumped in a chair.
We'll do a real quick segment at the end of this. There's some really cute fan art and stuff of different moments of the game. I'll send it, and we can kind of react to it. And we might even be able to post links in the description. I don't want to put too much on Phantom's plate, but there's some really cute fan art involving this.
All right.
Okay, back to the boss.
Ooh! So I challenged the librarian before I had beaten the Steam engine, or the Siege engine. I basically was like, oh, I'll go through and explore this ruined atoll area. I opened up the library, I made my way through there, I'm like, oh man, this is cool. I get to the top, and I'm like, oh, I am not supposed to be here yet, because this guy, he gave me final boss energy, even though he's not.
Oh, yeah.
You know, shadowy figure at the very top of a tower, that is...
This guy fucks.
Classic. This guy fucks. This is a cool-ass boss fight. I lost many a times. And you're limited to such a small, area. He floats around on the outside of the top of the tower, swooping in for a couple of attacks here and there. And you're given this very small area that you can actually move around on. I think it's a very clever challenge.
Yeah, this is probably the closest boss to a Dark Souls boss in this game, because it's all about you have to pace yourself and wait for your chance to actually strike this guy because he's so far out of range, because you have a very limited amount of mana, and yeah, you can pop as many fire rod shots as you want at this guy, but until he spawns enemies, you're not going to get that magic back, so you have to rely on whenever he, dodging his attack whenever he slams down on the ground and getting as many hits in as you can before he disappears again.
The magic dagger and fire rods were very useful here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I did a good 75% of his health with the magic rod, using 1, the magic echo strategy, and 2, just dodging everything until he spawned minions and I could get magic off of them and pop him a couple more times.
I was very thankful
didn't
for those
get to melee
minions.
him much at all.
Runs.
I actually used the magic orb on him to, I would wait till he did the slam attack, go in, get a combo on him. He'd go to start moving away, and I'd be like, "No, get your ass back here. I'm getting some more hits in." And so yeah, fuck, I played like Scorpion pretty much. Just get over here. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to fucking say about it, but I can't remember what it was. So y'all continue until I fucking remember.
I don't really have too much else to say aside from just the tone of this boss fight really kind of started. It signaled the point of shift in tone in the game, I think. It starts to take on the darker, more... there's something not quite right going on here. There's more to it than just being this cheerful little Zelda clone. The tone and the boss fight music were magnificent.
Incredible atmosphere. Super fun boss fight. I was so glad to be off the top of that tiny area where I couldn't move around. That was such an interesting and annoying challenge to face a boss without being able to move. Because that was the way I beat most bosses, was just running around them. And instead of actually dodging or defending against attacks, just being not in the same place that they were aiming by the time they got their shot off.
So I remember what I was going to say about it now. I played this game in 4 sessions. I got to him at the end of my second session and tried him a couple times. But then it was too late, and I had something to do that night or something, so I had to end it. And I was like, "Don't worry, I'll beat him the next time I come on." I get on, I give it a couple tries, realize I'm not gonna beat this guy right now. I leave and I go fight the siege engine first.
Yup.
And then I came back and was like, "All right, I'm back, motherfucker. I'm not any stronger, but you know what? I'm gonna do it."
That was exactly my my method as well.
That's that, boss. I guess we head on to the next area, the quarry. Walker, want to hit us with that description?
So the quarry is a weird one. It doesn't have a description of the quarry itself. Instead, you get a little insight into the boss, aka the boss of the scavengers. The quote is listed here. "We'll stop at nothing to obtain the blue key. She has known for a very long time that it is in the rooted ziggurat, but only now has entered its depths. It cost many lives, but any price would be acceptable."
I feel like there should be a small little asterisk there where, and then at the bottom of the page it just says in all caps, "By the way, she got a gun."
She got a gun.
She got a gun. And so do I now.
Yeah, let's talk about the quarry. When you first get in here, unless you are like Trent, you will enter this really cool... there's a gate in the top left corner of the overworld area that kind of blocks your progression, but you can get around that with some of the items that you get later on. And once you go past, you are taken down this very long, dramatic walkway where you get to see this massive entrance to some kind of vault locked off. And you walk by, and there's an obelisk that you pray at. And once the obelisk sets, you see the door in the distance start to open up. And at least for me, I'm like, oh, big door. Something good is in there. Nothing good is in there, but we'll get to that. You continue on down, you find your save point, you move forward, and then you run into the scavengers, which, the scavengers are not pleasant.
They'll fuck you up, fam.
They will fuck you up. They have no regard. There's a handful of different types, which are outlined in the book, but they are outlined in English, so you get some information about the rifle type ones, the great sword type ones, and the bomb type ones. Pretty standard enemy arrangements, but go ahead.
Can I say on the record, fuck them bomb guys?
Yeah, they're the worst ones.
They're the worst ones because they run away from you. You have to either hit them at range or trap them in the map to hit them, because they will always run away.
Such a pain in the ass.
Pain in the dick.
I remember I was fighting a big group, and I was just kept getting hit by the same bomb guy, and I finally finished the rest of the group except for the bomb guy, and I chased him for probably a solid minute and a half before I finally fucking got his ass. He ran to different areas of the map than he's supposed to be on, and I'm just running after him I'm gonna kill you, I swear to God.
The only good thing about the bomb guys is their bombs hit everyone. They have no regard for friend or foe, so if you get them to toss their bombs into groups of enemies, you can wipe out a bunch of the scavengers without much issue. Let's talk a little bit more about the quarry. So, as you can see on the map page of the quarry, different areas are outlined, and you can see these kind of purple splotches through the map. This is not the first time, but perhaps the first time that some people will interact with, what do y'all want to call the energy that fucks you up?
I think it's just raw power, because it seems like this entire world runs on this shit. It's the obelisk, whenever you send them down, it sends the power out to other plates and shit. So I think it's just raw power.
Yeah, so these scavenger guys are mining into these obelisks and funnels for this raw energy, and in doing so have damaged them, and this energy is leaking out. So it will actively lower your total
Your max
available
health.
health.
Yeah, your max
Yeah.
health.
Yeah. It doesn't do damage. It lowers the size of your health bar.
And fuck me, that will ruin you in a lot of these segments, because especially once you get past the first like long straightaway area, there's a segment where you can't get through for the most part without taking at least some chip off of your max health, and that could be a huge detriment.
Yeah, there's this whole part called the lower miasma that literally you're walking on top of the shit. There's no other way after this point. You just got to go that way.
I guess we can call that stuff miasma.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I guess. Until you go into the... What was it? It's not the cathedral.
The monastery.
The monastery.
Yeah, the monastery. Where you finally find the card for the scavenger's mask. And I had no clue what this was, but it had a fucking face on it, so I was like, I'm gonna equip that real quick, see what happens. Then my fox has a little gas mask, and I'm like, oh, please, dear God. And I walk to the miasma, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
So this thing is basically a requirement. It's not. You don't need it to beat it, I'm sure. But for all intents and purposes, for a casual playthrough, you're gonna want this fucking mask. Real quickly, there are little blurbs in the quarry for the different areas.
Can we, real quick, just say what the mask does?
Oh, yeah,
I don't
sure.
think we explicitly said it. The mask keeps you from taking miasma damage. If you have the mask on and you walk through miasma, your health bar does not lower.
And
Such a
boy,
lifesaver.
do we need that. Yeah, especially once you get down to the lower miasma areas. It completely stops you from taking that kind of damage, which, thank you, game. Please, this is perfect.
We needed that W. All right, what about these different areas?
So on the map for the quarry, there are 5 different segments. One is for, at the very top, the monastery. Once a place of worship for the gods that you live beneath the earth, it was abandoned when the cathedral's influence reached its peak.
Oh.
Cavity. Escaped fossil that has dented a patch of local truth out of the canonical plane. Being near it does not hurt, but it does instill a terrible feeling of hopelessness. The Rooted Ziggurat. A house for strange gods exposed by erosion and greed. Gun. Powerful, but uses a lot of magic. Savvy explorers have been known to quest for this soon after their arrival.
Ah.
Which is a fun little hint towards an achievement that Trent was talking about earlier. And then the last one is Lower Miasma. The bottom of the quarry will sap up your will to go on unless your precautions are taken. Where the rumor is that the air is poisoned, misunderstood because of this miasma. So, yeah, the air isn't poison, it's just this miasma that is draining people's health.
Yeah, so once you go through the monastery in the quarry, you go down this massive elevator and end up in the Rooted Ziggurat, which is a vast tonal shift. It goes from post-apocalyptic, almost fantasy world to you're just in a sci-fi movie now. All the walkways are lit up with lights, and there's robot sentries and miniguns, or gun sentries. It was incredible.
I felt like I was playing a horror game. I was on edge the entire time I was in this area just because of what I was seeing.
There is a moment that I really want to talk about with you guys when you first enter the ziggurat, where it doesn't make you, but you can stand by as you watch one of these obelisks being created.
Yes.
And you watch this shriveled, like super long and gaunt fox-like creature.
Yeah, I want to stress how elongated this guy is. This guy is as tall as the obelisk, and like tall and lanky.
It looks like he's
Terrifying.
a skeleton made out of that energy, basically.
I went from immediate fear upon seeing this initially, and then you see the walls close in around it as an obelisk is formed, and you realize, oh, this is where this energy is coming from. It's raw, magical life force, spirit force, something that is being consumed by the technology of the obelisks. And God, the misery that I felt watching this and then having to go up to the next obelisk to continue the game and like power it. Oh god, it felt awful.
Yeah, that has really fucked up implications for the technology of this ancient empire kingdom place.
I didn't really feel like pity or more sorry for these. What I felt was more fear for, oh shit, what are these fucks gonna do to us now that we've been doing this to them? Like, I was more like worried for the long run than actually like feeling bad for what this place has been doing to them. That at least that was my initial reaction. I felt like, oh, we should not have been doing this. We should, like, this is wrong. But I was worried what the consequences were going to be. Repercussions, yeah.
So you continue down the elevator in this area, and you watch as, oh, this isn't a one-off thing. This is a factory. It is processing these creatures en masse and generating more and more obelisks. And you kind of see the process as you are traveling through. And this is where we get back to, what do you want to call the fox spider creatures that come out of the lava that you saw earlier, Brady?
I call them the worst enemy in the game.
Bam! There we go.
They're basically spiders made out of pure energy. Number one, they sap your health like the miasma does, and even if you're wearing the mask, they sap your health if they hit you. Number two, when you kill one, it turns into two slightly smaller ones, and if you kill those, they each turn into two really small ones. And all of those little things can sap your max health if they hit you. It is disgusting to try to fight those things. There is a point in the rooted ziggurat where you're running past and they just spawn behind you and in front of you, and then on the sides there are the rooted in place sentry guns that just shoot. It took me several tries to get past that point. Eventually the only way I beat it was by running back and forth, because the sentry guns will shoot at the energy spiders. So I would just run back and forth, dodge through them, and run to the other side and let the guns do some work to kill him. That's the only way I could do it, because I could not beat them by myself, because they just kept sapping my health.
These things were terrifying, but oh my god, so fucking cool.
Incredibly cool. Fuck them.
For my first go through of that area where I was getting all the items, I found a little corner that I was like safe in, where I could just shield in the corner and just wait and like shield attack a couple times, attack a couple times. That way none could get behind me, and I just had to like whittle it down. It took me like 5 minutes for them to like all finally come to me, because I was not fighting those on even playing field. Like, those things fucking suck. But eventually I got all the items. I'll go into a little bit better of a description. So if you've seen the power or the miasma through the entire thing, they look kind of like spider ants from the Borderlands series, except they're not like, they don't have a texture on them or anything like that. They're just the color of the miasma. But yeah, you fight a couple of those things, and then you keep going and you fight an obelisk.
You fight 2 obelisks.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, did I jump ahead? Sorry.
You fight one obelisk at I think it is some point in there, and then you go to the last area of that place is where you fight 2 obelisks, as well as some of the spider ant things. The entire time, I just let the obelisk kill the spider ant things while I was running in circles. I was not doing that fight fair.
That's more than fine. I don't think I fought that fair either. Yeah.
I went the true American way. Bombs and guns.
This boss fight was pretty rough. I think I managed to squeege my way through it with only 1 death, but I definitely did not deserve that win.
The boss scavenger?
Oh no, just the 2 sentries.
Oh yeah, the 2 sentries. Gosh, I don't even remember how I did it. Honestly, I have no recollection of it.
So you finally get through this area, and like the entire like floor underneath what you're walking on is pretty much miasma there, if I remember correctly. And then you finally get to the next area, which is like I want to say it's called like the secret vault or something like that. And you go across this bridge, and you just see, like, the camera zooms out to give you a wider view and everything, and as far as the eye can see, all you see is just obelisk after obelisk. And that's
hundreds and thousands of these things.
That's where the true dread sits in for the yeah, this is a factory, and this factory's been going on for who knows how long.
So there is some fun implications here. We'll talk about it a little bit later on once we get to the final segment of the game. But ooh boy, this is rough. But at the end of this haunting image, this long hallway where you're just walking and seeing all these obelisks.
Oh, and I should also point out, you see a lot of dead scavengers. You don't fight them; they're just dead on the floor.
Oh yes,
as you're going through this whole place.
And then you find a homegirl, Miss Boss of the Scavengers herself. Ooh. This is a rough fight. This got me.
Second hardest fight of the game for me, after the air.
Talk about a fucking skill check. This is where I learned to fucking parry, guys.
Yes.
And it wasn't I rage quit my third session on this bitch and came back and accidentally parried her just because I was like getting frustrated at the fight, and then I realized, oh my god, the game has a parry again. And that, like, it made it to where the fight went from me not even being able to get her down to half health to me being one hit away several times until I finally beat this boss. This boss is a skill check and a half, man.
This is a great fight. She has, like we mentioned earlier, gun, as well as a lot of very strong attacks, but they are very well, oh gosh, what's the term? Not like previewed, but
they got good tells.
Yes, they have very good tells.
Yeah,
choreographed, yes. Very well choreographed attacks. Great fight. I don't have too much to say aside from she's very, very strong, but
a lot of health.
Very, very well balanced and a lot of health. This is one of your last big fights of the game.
Yeah, the gun is the only reason I beat that boss. I didn't know how to parry, and I'm probably not good enough to pull it off even if I knew how. So I did the magic echo, 3 gunshots, collect the magic echo, 3 more gunshots, and I still had to eat like 3 or 4 of those blueberries to regain mana. Just go hide behind a crate, eat some berries, pop out, shoot her 3 times, go back around the crate. It was just awful. It was not a fun fight. Or it was a very fun fight. It was a very hard fight.
This is the first boss that just blatantly disrespects you by doing an attack that doesn't even do damage to you. It just knocks you over. She just fucking kicks you to the ground and just like, ha, you're nothing. Squint, like you fucking, like you're a fucking bug on my boot, and just just knocks you over. And I'm like, never felt more insulted in this game than whenever I got kicked over by that bitch, and I'm just like, fuck you. As well as the attack where she goes and slams the sword in the ground and it creates that wave. I love attacks like that. Like, it's just so good of an attack. Because you never think to dodge into a boss unless you play the Souls games. So the entire time you're sitting there and you're dodging away from everything she throws. And then she does this attack that is meant to be a bait to get you closer, because you have to dodge in to be able to dodge this wave that comes out at you. I love the attack.
Anyone else have any input on this boss specifically?
Learn to parry.
Learn to parry. Learn to parry. Parry helps quite a lot on this.
Or
Brady, any input?
Get good with the gun. Just shoot people. That's the way to beat this game, is just shoot people.
Oh, I didn't really mention it, but when you find the gun in the quarry, I think the moment of each time you open a chest is really fun, like animation that plays. Very classic Zelda. When I opened this chest and it just said gun, that was so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's magical world. You have swords, you have magic rods, you have this dagger that turns ice, and you have a gun.
Just a gun.
Just a gun.
And it works very well, apparently.
Very well.
So, upon slaying the boss scavenger, you claim the blue key, and then at this point, you've got all 3 keys.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah. Classic Zelda. Let's go back to that main area, plug in those 3 keys, and see what it does. And so, like any Zelda game, we are going back to the main temple area to try to plug in these keys and see what the fuck they do. You can do this in any order you want. I went through and basically as I got the keys, I went and plugged them in. I didn't plug them in all at once at the very end. So I did know that these rings just kind of that are floating shatter as you put these keys in.
Yeah, and like they kind of just like fall off, and you don't know where they go.
That's probably no big deal. This is the video game. That's how it works. We're trying to free Mama Fox or
The air.
older, yeah, the air. Like this air has been helping us out this whole time. So, with the final key being placed in the pedestal, the rings open up, and I guess let's go back. Let's try to get back into this mystical realm. So let's go to the plates. Yeah.
Actually, before we go on, I did not figure out, like, it took me probably about 5 or 10 minutes after I put in the last key to figure out what the fuck happened, because, like, I'm just like, well, it's done. Is there no cutscene? No nothing? I'm like, what? What do I do?
Yeah, it's not really telegraphed,
Yeah.
so you just kind of have to explore and go,
Yeah.
oh, right, that's what I was doing.
And then, so then I went to the far shore, and went back up to where I knew that the air was being held, and they weren't there. And I'm like, oh no. Well, what does this mean?
Yeah, I did something very similar. I was like, okay, is nothing happening here? And then I went to teleport to the far shore. And I always, because I am terrible at remembering where places go, I had it pulled up in the manual and saw that there was one in the middle that just had a question mark and a sword.
Did y'all go into this area before
Yes.
releasing the air?
Yeah, I knew about
Yeah.
this beforehand, and I saw the sword, and I'm like, ooh, that's gonna be a cool weapon whenever I can use it.
Yeah, this weapon. I was like, oh, fucking awesome! This is the thing that's in the title screen. This is cool. I like this. Let's go check it out. This place in the manual translates to the seat of the air, and it sure is. Because once we've broken the air out of their crystalline prison, you can go in here and they're here. They're hanging out. They're free. They're ready.
And you kneel down. You're ready to be knighted. You're ready to be rewarded for everything you've done.
I thought a hug was coming.
And then you get your fucking ear slashed off almost.
Yeah, the air fucking claims the sword and then fucking nails you with it. And you're fighting the air, baby. It's time for the air battle.
Without revealing how long you lasted, who do y'all think lasted the longest in this fight?
Walker.
I think Walker did too. So Brady, how long
did y'all last?
Brady, how long did you last?
Maybe 10 seconds. I did a lot of running away.
Okay. I lasted probably about 30 seconds. I was able to dodge a couple attacks, and I actually did a little bit of damage.
I don't know how. Don't ask me how. I got it down to just over half its health for my first attempt. I was like, oh, this is going great. This is not going to be a big deal. A couple more attempts of this, I die. I was like, oh, no big deal. I think I went down after like a minute.
Damn. Okay.
I didn't even get a single lick in. I just took the damage and was so shocked. I was like, wait, what the fuck is happening? So I started running away, and then she chased me down and stabbed me.
I was like, Mom,
And
I don't want
then
to do this. Mom,
once
no.
you die to the air,
You don't respawn!
you turn into a ghost.
Hey, Ghost Boys. And because you're a ghost, you don't have any of your shit. At least you don't have any of your upgrades and stuff that you've put time into. So all your stats are reset. All your health and stuff is locked down to a certain percentage. You're back to ground zero.
Yeah.
But now you're in the spirit world.
So you actually kind of get a preview of this throughout the game. Anytime you go into the spirit world and you look at your stats, you notice that everything is at 2. Your health bar, your mana bar, and your stamina bar. Like, it's at two bars and everything, and all your stats are just at 0. So you like your base. So it actually hints at that this will come into play later on in the game whenever you look at it. So whenever you die, boom, you're a spirit, and well, now you got to figure out what the fuck to do.
But now that you're a spirit, you're thrown back into the overworld, but things have changed.
It's night.
It's night. Shit's kind of fucked up. There's a lot of broken stuff. There's some miasma around the world.
There's no enemies.
But what there is, there's other fox spirits here. There's a lot of them. And they all speak the same language that's written in the book. Some of them have a couple of keywords. All this dialogue does translate. I'm not going to go through it. I don't have it pulled up. But you do get some pretty decent insight if you take some time to look at it.
This is where translating the language really comes into play, I imagine, because like it'll probably be like direct directions on where to go and everything. So for me, it was more like, well, fuck. We stumble around until we find what we can do.
One of the foxes will actually mention the graveyard. It's written in plain English text, so you're able to kind of go, oh, okay, cool, let's go this way. And you are guided, and there is this like hard light spirit bridge over a broken pathway that you're actually able to take into the graveyard.
The graveyard as a spirit, it's pretty pretty good area. So some aspects of it suck, some of them are bad. Don't go here during the day.
I think the main thing that sucked for this area was because all your stats are reset, your health is back down to its original quality. You are very limited in. I think you're limited in healing as well. You only have like a couple of healing flasks.
No.
Sorry, one second.
Yeah, while you're coughing, you're not limited in the number of flasks, but one of the stats that you upgrade is your how much you heal. So essentially you're like you heal less anytime you heal. You still have the same number of charges though.
Mm-hmm. And you do less damage, and you take more damage, and it's just a bad time all around. You fight some interesting enemies though when you're in the graveyard. One of the things that it took me a long time to realize this was an enemy and not just an effect of the world are the invisible ghosts.
Yeah.
There are just invisible ghosts that will make a sound and you'll see a flash of red across your screen and then you take damage. You don't see them unless you damage them, and then they appear and you can hit them again. But
and they chase you for fucking miles.
They chase you across the map.
The guide has some info. Do y'all want some insight into
yes,
this area?
Please.
Okay, so there's not a whole lot. It's very, very limited.
Actually, before you go on, I want to make a theory. That'll probably be disproven right here. I want to say that these are probably like heir to the heirs that have failed.
You are not crazy off.
Okay.
So the limited area or the limited information is provided next to a skull with in the top of its head just engraved in. It says R.I.P. Around the cathedral is a wasteland of graves. Those who have had remains to bury after the final battle are laid here, but many are not at rest. So there was a final battle. Don't know. I think this falls in line with some of the early story you can see in the first couple pages of the manual that I read at the very, very beginning. But also very possible that these could be heirs that have died in the past. But I do have a theory regarding that as well that we will get into later.
Yeah, so you fight your way through this graveyard sewer area, or if you're like me, you just run past people and hope they don't follow you too far. And eventually you get into a cave. And inside that cave, you find another one of the best items in the game, the teleportation crown.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to talk about this. Once you get past the swamp, the old burying grounds, you enter into the cathedral. The cathedral is very interesting because there's a lot of it feels like clones of you. There are other heir of heirs that are around that have like very basic attacks.
And these fucks are creepy as shit.
They are very creepy. There is one that's later on that actually can properly dodge roll and attack you, and that thing messed me up many a time.
There was a room with two of them that dodge roll attack you that I died to like 3 or 4 times, and I was getting mad at it.
Yeah. These guys are basically previous versions of yourself that have died, is what I gathered, because they're all looking like you.
I think that's a pretty accurate assumption.
Bro, what if the number of those enemies here was equal to how many times you died in the game?
I can say that's for sure not the case because there were not enough.
Yeah.
For how many times I died.
Like, imagine how much of a hellscape that would have been. Oh, man.
My graphic engine in my Xbox One could not have handled it.
Yeah. Okay, so for the cathedral, we have a tiny little blurb and then a bunch, like a list of information that's all written out in this strange language. Do y'all want to hear it?
Oh, is this the 12 or 13 steps that it had? or something like that? Perfect. Yes, let's go into that.
Read 'em.
Okay, so at the very top we have the cathedral, the seat of power for the first heir. So that tells you a lot. So the very first heir was here.
Okay.
Okay, number 1, the sound of chanting in the air. Number 2, a large chamber filled with the smell of incense. Number 3, the shaft descends into the blackness, activated by 10. Doorway to the eastern rooms, that was number 4. 4A, a group of lost friends covet the elixir. 4B, the baptismal font. Number 5, upper balcony offers a view of the main hall. Number 6, in the library, there's a double secret. Number 7, a rough-hewn cut passage. Number 8, a moonlight bridge blocks access to a treasure. Number 9, the chalice/vessel. We're going to loop back around to number 9 in a second, because the positioning of these will help clarify some stuff. Number 10, device to power the lift. Number 3. Number 11, lift shaft. Number 12, ruined chamber has checkpoint. And number 13, a gauntlet with 6 challenges. So, real quickly, we're kind of breeze through, I imagine, the cathedral, because this is a very atmosphere-heavy area. The main challenge, I think, comes from the fact that you are still mostly derived of a lot of your strength and a lot of your healing abilities, and you're very limited in a lot of regards. So this is very much an endurance challenge, I feel like.
Before we get to the gauntlet itself, this is the one, like, creepiest thing I ever saw with one of these elongated fox things. You go into a room.
This is what is marked as number 9. So this is the chalice/vessel.
Oh, okay. So you go into a room, and there's one of these elongated fox things crucified on a fucking cross. And you're like, okay, that's creepy as fuck. Whenever you finally get your wits about you, exit the room, you go out and you do something, you have to come back through that room. You come back to that room, and it's gone. It's fucking gone. And I've never shivered so hard in this game than I did right there. I was freaking the fuck out.
It was pretty scary. When I went in, I mentioned before that I felt such pity for these things. So I actually went up. I did like a full loop around. I wanted to check out the area. This creature is, like you said, crucified. It's held at both of its arms. Its head is down. I went up to one of the sections, really close to it, and I prayed. I prayed to it. It will stop and look up and look at you if you pray.
Oh my god. No, I'm good. Nope.
And that made it even worse when I left the room and I came back and it was gone. I'm like, oh god.
What have I done?
Y'all wanna hear my theory? The one that I've been kind of like talking about?
Yeah.
So the cathedral is the seat of power for the first heir.
Yeah, you think that's the first heir?
I think this is the first heir. And I think every single time a cycle is run, and we'll get into the cycles here in a minute.
Oh, fuck!
Every single time a cycle is run, the old heir dies, becomes one of these, and is sent into that factory below the ziggurat.
Oh,
and
fuck.
This is the cycle that's created. This is the world as its current state is, and you are so far down this line. This has happened so many times.
Oh my god. Yeah, I can see that.
Question.
Yeah.
The manual mentions a couple of times a final battle.
Yep.
Do we know who was fighting who?
So, no, I think the closest thing we get is at the very beginning. Well, there's two different kind of like leads to a final battle. There's where it's talking about the power to define death, the world thrown into ruin. So we don't know per se, but we can assume that one of the final battles will probably be the heir to the heir fighting the first heir. That's what I feel like.
So my thought was, because there are remnants of the final battle, like you see all the technological enemies that you fight, you see the siege engine, that's one of the bosses. My theory is not that those fox emaciated energy beings are the heirs. I think there was a war between the heir and the heir's followers and the followers of the old gods that the monastery was dedicated to, because you said the monastery fell into ruin when the cathedral became more prominent. I think it was a religious war, and the technological, ancient technology people fought against the more religious cathedral people, and the technology people became locked in the obelisks, and that's why one of those foxes was crucified, was because they were the enemy, and that was kind of a tribute to the heir as the leader.
I don't think that's too far of a shot, especially considering, and we'll talk about it in just a minute because we're getting really close to it, the Holy Cross and all the stuff that revolves around that.
Yeah, maybe not the best time to talk about theories, but this game is...
It's left to interpretation.
It tees you up so well to just come up with the craziest thought experiments and theories regarding the history of the world, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, so once you get out of the area of crucifixion there, you lower the final elevator down.
Actually, well,
we get into a gauntlet room.
You actually raise the elevator first, and there's a fuck ton of skulls on it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That was very cool. I liked that.
Just so creepy.
But yeah, then you go down to the gauntlet, and I will say it's all right.
This part sucked.
Yeah, but this is probably the one bad thing I have about the game, honestly. I don't like the design decision to take away everything you've earned up to this point and then have you do a test to see if you can beat everything, if you can beat everything you've already beaten in the game back to back again. This part pissed me off a little more than I think any other part, because a lot of it came down to getting a lucky sequence or something like that to me. You get hit really, if you get hit, you take a lot of damage, you die really quickly. You're not healing as much as you are and everything. It just takes away everything you've earned and gained up to this point, and then has you challenge this, and it's required.
See, I feel differently. I feel if you had your full power, that gauntlet it wouldn't even be a challenge. It was only as difficult as it was because we had our powers taken away. And I think something that momentous as dying and losing all your abilities, you need to have some kind of gauntlet to be able to earn those powers back. And these were all the except for the forest guardians, they were all relatively weak enemies. These were all the basic grunts and mobs that you would fight in each of the areas. I understand where you're coming from. I definitely can see how it would be frustrating. I liked it. I thought it was a fun challenge. Plus, you had the health shrine that you could pray at to restore your health once during the gauntlet.
I think my wish for this, it kind of falls in the middle, because I do understand the frustration coming out of this of not being able to conquer or attack this with everything that you have. I do wish you were able to come back later and do it with all your upgraded stats and stuff. I think that would be a very fun challenge, and see oh, here's the difference. But I do think it's a very good progression gate. This is in-game stuff. This is very, very close to the final challenges of the game. So this is really just testing everything that you've done at this point.
It's testing you not on how much of the game you completed and how much you've upgraded your stat. It's testing you on the core mechanics of, do you know how to dodge? Do you know how to attack without taking damage? This felt more like a skill gate than any of the other gates you've been talking about. This felt more like if you don't know how to play this game, you will not progress. You have to know the mechanics and the combat system in order to get to the next part of the story. That's what I felt like.
So I got two things. I'm going to slightly disagree with that, because they throw so many of the enemies at you, and from what you've said earlier is you pretty much just killed things before it could respawn other things. That's not really skill expression. That's just spamming the attack button and everything.
Which is a skill in itself, though, to be fair.
They throw so many of these enemies at you so that it's there's not really skill expression there. It's more of like just running around and picking off people more than anything in this entire thing. There are so many of those flying square sentry things whenever you fight them that you're like literally. I just ran around and took pot shots with my fire rod the entire time at it. Like that's all you can do against it.
See, but there's alternate strategies. No, because you could have the fairies attack each other, which is what I had them do. You could have them attack and destroy one another, and that's how I
had a couple that killed the others, but they all like favored one side for me almost every single time I went into it. With the skeletons, they were like the skeletons have enough health at that level you can't kill them in time to be able to kill it before the next one spawns. And if you don't get out of the center where they're spawning, you're gonna die really quickly. So that one you have to like train them all the way around and everything. And maybe it would have been easier if I would have caught on to the fact that you get bombs for respawning the more you use. But I like I said, I went through this game using very few consumables unless I absolutely needed to. Like for instance, I used one of the fox decoys against the two West Guardians. So I had an issue with the skeletons, I had an issue with the sentries, I had an issue with the West Guardians. The guards I didn't have an issue with because they would go to the bottom side of the map. They would lose aggro and go to the bottom side of the map, and you can actually fight them off one on one. So like they were like I felt like the gauntlet was very inconsistent in that. Same thing you could do for the lizard men, and I don't even remember what the last group of enemies was.
The candle people.
Oh, the candle people. The candle people were bad. They would all simultaneously try to attack you at once, and if you get hit by one of them, it staggers you to where you're going to get hit by the second one, and two of them, and you're dead. There were like massive inconsistencies in this gauntlet, I feel, and it was hard to get past it. As well as Brady, you have changed sides on this gauntlet from the first time that we talked about it, like a month or so ago to now. So I'm curious, like, what made you change your mind about it?
Number one, I don't remember what I said a month ago because it's been a month. Probably just time thinking back on it and having the full experience of the game. Just looking back on it from where I've been. I found it challenging for sure. But now that I've completed the whole game, that was one of my... I don't want to say it's one of my favorites. But I didn't think it was... I thought it was an easier fight than the boss scavenger. Easily an easier fight than the boss scavenger. I didn't think it was a low point in the game.
For me, I feel like a lot of... Because I died a lot in this segment. A lot of it for me was figuring out the order in which I wanted to tackle every single challenge. Because you get the option. There are different statues in here, and you can summon different things in whatever order you want. Which is really nice. Figure out the order I wanted to do there, and the strategy for each individual situation.
Yeah.
And what I ended up realizing was, okay, my biggest hurdle is the West Guardians. Because you have to fight two of one of the very first bosses of the game. This was fairly difficult, but I found that once I beat those, I was able to get through the rest of them without much issue. There is a lot of, running around, conserving your, figure out the right timing to attack. But I feel like each one offered some alternate way to go about it. The fairies, like I mentioned before, you were able to draw their fire into one another, potentially, which helped take a bunch of them out. For the scholar ones, the ones that used the summoning, the magic squares to attack you, there was a really good delay where if you just would target one at a time and loop back around, you were able to hit one a couple of times, run to dodge all the attacks, loop back around and hit it and kill it, and then that would give you a little bit more of a window to work with. And, kind of each individual one has a strategy that I kind of worked out for it. You mentioned training all the different skeletons around, like it was a game of Call of Duty Zombies, where you have all of them following you in one big horde, and then once you have all of them spawned, I would just toss a couple bombs in there, and then boop, issue taken care of. So I definitely see what you're saying, though. It is extremely challenging, and it's at a point in the game where you are literally the weakest you can possibly be.
Yeah, just to like kind of further my point a bit about it, just a little bit. Y'all mentioned a bunch of like running around the entire time while doing it. While whenever I'm in combat, I'm not doing much running. I'm like fighting them and like reading their moves, dodging and attacking more than anything. It was a lot of running around at a point in the game where I just hit like a huge climax and I just want to keep exploring and keep getting more of the game instead of being here throwing my face at a wall of a bunch of a like a horde of all enemies that I know I can take them down like in smaller groups, but just the overwhelming odds of what they're throwing at me now is a little absurd in my opinion.
That's fair, and I can understand how having the strategy of, facing it full force, not like fleeting around and like attacking or anything like that. I could see how it could be so much more difficult in that regard.
Yeah, because like everything in my guts just telling me, oh, just fight him and everything. But then it's like, well, no, I'm not gonna get past it unless I do this. So like I did end up doing the run around strategy and everything, and I did like also the order did come into play later, but yeah, it was just a low point in my opinion for the game. Other than that, I've had nothing but good words to say about it. This was the one point that I was just like, eh. But so this is the combat check part of the game, essentially.
And there is a very good reward for it,
yeah.
I would say.
And then right after it, you get an exploration check part of the game if you want to actually have a chance against the air without learning literally everything you can do, pretty much. In the sense of going and finding all your...
Well, let's talk about the item real quick.
Yes.
Because we haven't really touched on it yet. After you beat the gauntlet, you unlock what I think is one of the coolest items in the game. Because, in my personal opinion, blinking, being able to teleport a short distance is such a fun mechanic in a game. And especially so when that mechanic is linked in such a way where it doesn't consume too much energy to be able to do so.
Yeah, it functions on stamina, which regenerates, so that's, like, that was a really good idea. I'm so glad it wasn't based on magic.
Yeah. This really cool wreath you get after defeating the gauntlet of 6 challenges. It's a wreath that sits on top of your character. It's a very, very cool stylization, and it allows you short-range teleportation.
In substitution for your dash. So,
yes.
Or not your dash, your roll.
roll.
Not only is this like good exploration-wise, but it's great combat-wise as well. Like,
yeah.
I love games that can balance an exploration mechanic to be good in combat as well. That's why I love the Magic Orb as well. Also, I completely forgot this classified as an item. So me and Brady were both wrong earlier in the game. This is the best item in the game.
Yes. Yes.
I would argue this is more of an upgrade than an item, because it's not one you have to actively equip in your inventory, which is really nice. But, yeah, this thing is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's the thing that gives you a chance against just so many later enemies.
Yeah, my entire like combat style changed as soon as I got this weapon, or this item. You can guarantee that I was blinking everywhere. Blinking in, smacking someone around, and then blinking out right before, like, doing 2 quick teleports away to, like, give yourself space. That's how I conquered the final battle. It basically boiled down to get in, smack around, get out. Oh my gosh, so much fun.
I wasted my stamina bar more times after I got this than I did in the entirety rest of the game before it. Just because literally I would travel the whole map blinking the entire time. Yeah, so now that you conquered this, now you're tasked with, in order to get your life back and turn it back to day, you have to go to these statues that have been around the area. The first one that I mentioned that I found and realized that you can use it to go to the area was in the East Forest, or the Fortress of the Eastern Vault Forest specifically. And so you have to go find your way back around the entire world while there's various blocks from miasma that's here because it's nighttime, and go get the six different things you use to strengthen up your stats. Only a spirit version of it that will, once you obtain that one, will grant you your current stat in the your current real life stat of that version. So for instance, you go and you collect the health one, and your health goes from the little 2 bars to whatever it was before you died to the air, and you go through each area again with your new ability, and you're getting all the collectibles you haven't gotten at this point, I assume, because now you have a fucking blink, and you go through and you pray at all these statues to get the heroes items and essentially become the heroes. What I view this as.
Yeah, so specifically the statues are the graves of former heroes.
Yes.
Is where you're going to pray. So you're calling upon the power of the people that have failed this mission ahead of you, or succeeded, depending, to get all your stats back.
Super, super cool, because these different hero graves are spread out into the 6 main areas that you explore throughout the game. You find a page at one point that kind of details where you can find all these. There's one that's in the fortress, the forest, the swamp, the library, the garden, and the monastery. So you're doing a world tour now. But now you have access to everything, all your movement options. This means every single page is now available to you. And as you leave the area, the cathedral and the graveyard, you find another page. This one is another, I would call them a lore page. It gives you the full image of what the big fight coming up is, where one side it is your little fox wearing this wreath and his sword is drawn, and the other side is the heir herself holding out the massive sword. On the other side of this, though, there's a data management page. Did y'all take a look at any of the data management stuff?
Not until I was doing the Golden Path.
As soon as I got this page, I decided to take a look. And when you go into load game, instead of just like continue or new game, when you exit out to the main menu, we won't talk about it too much yet, but there's a new file there. There's a new loaded game that wasn't mine. It was not one I created.
Specifically, this only appears if your manual is open to that specific page. If you're turned to a different page, it does not appear.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. But, yeah, so there is a secret load file in here that if you go and explore, there's another version of the fox who is a slightly different color, has a slightly different tunic on, but they are trapped, and they have some weird items on them, including one that will slow down time a little bit, as well as a couple other just weird things. But they're trapped in an area that constantly loops. There's no escape. Their money is completely maxed out, because that's the one thing you can do in this area is break pots and collect money, and you're trapped in this constant loop here. So I thought that was very interesting and very bizarre, and I felt this game starting to like really crack open more. I love games that mess with data management stuff. Undertale is big in this regard. It's not something you see a whole lot, but whenever it does crop up, I think it's so cool. And going from there, I guess we can just kind of do a real quick run through of the world, because once you're exploring, as we mentioned before, this night realm has a bunch of miasma spread through it, so you have to navigate it in an entirely different way.
All the bridges are gone. All the places where you would walk across a wooden bridge, it's not there anymore. You have to use your blink to get places.
And there's a lot of pages that you could not get access to because they were kind of just like suspended in like little islands that had no way to like get over. You couldn't like use the magic orb to slingshot to them or anything like that.
It's at this point in the game where you can literally get every page in the game besides the last one, which requires you to solve the Golden Path.
So let's talk about the Golden Path, because one of these pages you can find.
Before we get into the Golden Path, let's go through the first ending.
Okay.
Because the Golden Path is kind of tied into the...
That's fair.
Okay. Yeah.
That's fair. So once you get all your upgrades back, the game's open to you. You can go and re-challenge the heir whenever you want. So if you're ready, you get a page later on. Do you want me to read from this page?
Yes.
Go for it.
This page is page 45, and it says clearing the game at the very top. Big letter A, it says take your rightful place, with an image of the little fox and the air, swords drawn, aimed at each other. And in this other language it says, extinguish the beacon's last spark and become a fresh martyr. Courage that is untempered by kindness risks eating itself forever. And, yeah, we can go to the air. Y'all want to talk about the air final boss? Brady, you didn't really,
I fought this boss a lot. I never beat it because I am not good.
Your gun strat doesn't work, does it?
No. No. In this fight, I understood how Trent felt when he fought all the tiny, easy mobs in the gauntlet. It was incredibly challenging. The blink helps so much. Oh my gosh. But you have to pull out all the stops to beat the air.
This is another really good battle. It takes a lot from the boss scavenger. It does have there's a wide variety of attacks, but they're all very well telegraphed. You can go through this, and it took me a while, but I was able to finally beat the air. I was on my last legs. I drained all my health potions. Pull out my sword, make my final strike. I blink in. I'm like, yes, I've got it. I kill her.
Huh.
Hey guys.
Second phase!
Most final bosses have fucking extra phases.
Oh.
Have you beaten Elden Ring yet, Walker?
I have not beaten Elden Ring yet.
Okay.
And,
don't let me bring that up, cloud your mind or anything.
Jesus. Yeah, there's a phase 2. The first air, while very, very good in a very strong and potentially difficult battle, oh boy, she's nothing compared to phase 2. Because the mitts come off. It feels like during this first fight, the air is holding back. There's some sort of affection there for the air of the air, which I'm pretty sure. We talked a little bit about this beforehand. We have some ideas of what it could be, but we've all kind of landed on they're at least a family member of some kind.
I have a small theory for this, because we haven't said what the core change in between the first phase and second phase is yet, but I have a theory that the air is desperate and doesn't want the cycle to break, or not doesn't want the cycle to continue with another person. They don't want to be they don't want to be defeated and have to suffer what the rest of the ones have suffered. So this is why I want to say this might in my theory, this is the first air that utilizes this in the second phase, and that's why they have a second phase. The air starts using miasma.
Yep. And it has the same effects that it does in the quarry. All the attacks have this miasma aura to them, and that lowers your total health. And God, it makes this fight so much harder, because not only is there the miasma effect, she also moves a fuckload faster.
Yeah. I will say that they do a real great job of balancing the second phase compared to the first phase. I would say the second phase feels like it has probably about half as much health as the first phase, at least. So you're not this is kind of a burst latch stitch effort for the air to fight you. So if you're clear headed and you keep doing what you were doing in the first fight and everything, you'll beat her in the blink of an eye. Just because that's how much health she has for this one. But my God, did everything just changes whenever this happens. You get the effect of whenever you get hit by a miasma attack where time slows down temporarily, because it wants you to know, hey, you fucked up, you got hit by this, you shouldn't have, and then so it throws your timings off slightly. This boss fight was so good.
Yeah, I really cannot sing its praises more. Brady, did you ever get to phase 2?
Once. Died immediately, but I did get to it once.
So, yeah, when you beat the the air here, if you haven't met a prerequisite, which we haven't quite talked about yet, we will in a minute, you'll trigger one of the endings of the game. This is a game with multiple endings, and defeating the air will
continue the cycle.
Trigger a really interesting cutscene. We've been talking quite a bit about a cycle, and this is kind of where it comes into place. There is a segment of the cutscene where, you know, the air falls. You've hit her with the last strike, and a light begins to come down on them. They look up, they lift it up into the air, and they just disappear. They're gone from this world. But you are not. You're still here. And you are sent into your like spirit form, and we watch as you then get locked into the same crystalline prison that we saw the air in. The rings reform, locking you in, and you have to wait. You wait for the next heir of an heir to come and release you and continue the cycle again. And then the credits roll. We see some very empty scenery. It's just kind of quiet, and it feels wrong, and you know that something is wrong. With y'all's permission, can I read the page that I was talking about before, where it has the 2-page spread with the air and the heir to the air?
Yeah.
So on this page, we see another one of the last full like blocks of text. It says, "Again, the same battle fought uncountable times. And so the cycle continues. Ruin seekers drawn to the beacon are tested. Those who abandon their quest are forgiven and simply disappear. Those who are strong enough to remember their true hero selves, though, through violence, will begin the cycle anew. Will you be the heir to the heir and wait within the shadow obulate? Before long, a ruin seeker will be drawn to you. Their gifts will recall your past life, and you will grant them the same false hope that you were given. To break the curse, a rune seeker must by some miracle invoke a relic from beyond this plane."
Damn.
Y'all want to talk about how to get the true ending of the game? Because Brady, you did do this one, right?
I did do this one.
But before, I just want to point out, Brady got this ending because he didn't learn how to parry. Parry the final boss, please.
Parry the final boss. It'll change your life.
I refuse.
Equip the one that gives you more frames to do so, more of a parry window. Absolutely use it.
Maybe. So let's talk about the golden path.
So throughout the manual, there's a lot of reference to something called the Holy Cross. And, you know, that's pretty standard religious symbolism. It could mean anything. It could mean lore. It could mean a physical item in the game. The librarian thought so. The librarian thought it was sealed within the cathedral. But there was nothing there aside from the wreath. Eventually, you'll find a page that says the Ruin Seeker begins to understand the Holy Cross. And you're given a series of inputs on this page. You're given down, right, up, left, up, right. And if you look closely at the page, you can see there's a cross there. It's one of two things. It's either the cross of the D-pad or the cross of the 4 arrow keys. Boys, this is such a good reveal.
Oh, it really was. I'm honestly kind of disappointed that I'm figured it out by having a fucking fever dream before, just before I got that page, pretty much. Where this game, because I did a lot of reading into what inspired this game, and it's inspired by the retro Zelda games as well as just retro games in general. Retro games, they always had these little cheat codes and everything, and I remember that one of our classes, whenever I went to school at Full Sail University for game development, one of our classes mentioned something about implying that the Holy Cross was the arrow keys or a D-pad on a controller or something. And I just randomly one night after playing this game, I had a dream where I was sitting in class at Full Sail again, and it just came to me. And I instantly woke up that morning and I texted the guys, guys, I think I know what the Holy Cross is. My God. Fuck, I wish I would have had the reveal y'all did, but I'm also, like, very happy I had, like, a fucking fever dream to fucking figure it out.
So, to break this down a little bit more, there are several, I say not even several, many, all across the overworld. There are these doors or different areas with these weird engravings and strange shapes on them, but they are all made out of either horizontal or vertical lines. They're very hard, sharp edges, all 90-degree turns. If you go up to any one of these, stand nearby them, and then input on the Holy Cross, either your D-pad or your arrow keys, starting from the center point, which is always clear on these different items.
It'll usually be like a square block that's turned. Oh, well, a rhombus actually, like a rhombus block that's bigger than the actual path that it takes.
Yeah, and you'll be able to punch in the inputs, and then shit will happen. There's a lot of doors that'll open up that lead to hidden items through the game. There are more pages that are hidden behind these things to your manual, and this is it. This opens up the final, like, big knowledge gate to the game. This is something that you could access from the very beginning if you wanted to. You could take a specific route straight into the West Garden if you wanted to, and open up a door there using the Holy Cross, and find a different sword than the one that you can get over in the Hero's Grave. It's crazy how much of the world this opens up.
And there's no other thing that this helps more than with the Golden Path, because then you start to see what this Golden Path actually is. So page 55.
Before you jump into... Yep, okay.
Page?
No, page 49.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 49. 55's back cover. My bad. Page 49 of the book has this gold grid with a bunch of numbers on it, like in each square of the grid. It's a 5x5 grid, and the center number being 55, being the back cover of the page. You don't know what these numbers mean initially, and then you notice that the highest one's 55, the lowest one is 1, and that can only mean and there's exactly 55 pages in the manual.
If you flip through the manual, once you have it mostly completed, you'll notice, oh, there's patterns all throughout this book. Almost every single page, a good majority of the pages, I think like half of the pages, there is something hidden on them. And the closer you look, the more you realize, oh, it's more of these Holy Cross paths. And eventually, I don't know how y'all ended up doing it, but the moment of realization for me, because I was this big grid, right, that I had all the different numbers on it, I was fully convinced it was like one of those magic squares where you have to like reorient the numbers in a certain way to like have it so they all add up perfectly on the horizontals, verticals, and diagonals. It wasn't that at all. It was nothing to do with that. I desperately tried. But then I noticed the patterns that I was noticing throughout the book lined up to these different page numbers that are on the grid here.
And they were all in gold.
That's the Golden Path. Yeah, I got a notepad and just drew a giant square on it and bifurcated it to match the giant gold square that you see on page 49 with all the numbers on it, and just started drawing those patterns.
So there is a prerequisite kind of like puzzle quest for this. So you need basically every page in the book
except for one.
You need basically every page except for that one to be able to fill out this Golden Path completely. So you'll have to go around the map, fully explore it, check out all the areas, basically root into this as much as you can. There's these secret like fairy puzzles where you have to solve, I think, half of them to get a page from that. There's memos that are hidden in like the back pages of the book that'll help you find other things. Golly, man, this is cool. This is a cool piece of the game.
Honestly, the best part of the game for me was this cool little puzzle searching, finding the Holy Cross uses to find the pixies, and using the Golden Path to to just go back through all the effort I had gone through to get those pages and have it pay off in the form of a puzzle. It was incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
This ties to that big fuck off door in the mountains that we were talking about earlier. As it turns out, this golden path is, and I counted, a 100 input long code. They have to stand in front of this mountain, and having it written down somewhere definitely helps. I have what looks like scrawlings of a madman in one of my journals of different like direction. I have the whole thing like plotted out and drawn.
Yeah, fandom, we're gonna put in like images of our notes in the group chat. Like just while we're talking about the golden path, just cut to different pictures of our notes for what we did for this, just to see like how insane this shit looks. It's crazy.
It's wild. And you feel like a madman while you're doing it, but you also feel like the smartest motherfucker in the world.
I felt like Indiana Jones discovering some ancient ruin puzzle.
This is catharsis in its rawest form. It's incredible. This is the main reason we say play this game without being spoiled. Go into it blind, because this fucking discovery
is satisfactory.
Makes this
it's
game.
The definition of satisfaction.
So, yeah, I don't know what else to say other than this is just an incredible puzzle that takes into account, classic gaming. It jumps back to, the classic Konami code where you're just punching in different directions on the D-pad to unlock different cheats. But it's baked in. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
This is such a love note to classic gaming. It's great.
100 inputs! Fuck!
And there is a different section. I can't remember exactly where it is, but it requires you to input that backwards for like a secret, which is so cool.
Oh yeah, that's the secret, like that rabbit hole secret. I couldn't figure it out. I googled that.
That's what it. Oh my fucking god! I forgot about this. We're gonna talk about that at the very end. Holy shit! This is wild, y'all. Okay. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Continue.
I think Walker did this. Fuck.
I did this. I did this because I wanted to know every fucking thing about this game. We will get there. Anyway,
so you open the golden path.
Brady, tell us what the golden path does.
Yeah, so you input the golden path in front of the mountain door.
Do you want me to repeat
opens
it?
The mountain door. No, I do not. Inside the mountain door is the last page of the manual,
which is the
the
cover
first page of the manual.
Yeah,
which is the cover page.
So I will go ahead and read this to you as well.
Before you read it, I just want to point out the fact that I like collecting video game collectibles and everything. If I ever see an actual like physical representation of this fucking manual, I don't care if it's $500. That's the limit I'll make for it. I will cop and fucking buy this thing for $500.
100%. This would be the coolest piece of video game merch I would ever own. Oh man, I would love a physical copy of this manual. But yeah, so once you've done that, you've completed the manual, which means you now have access to the complimentary page to the clearing the game page. It says it's a continuation. Clearing the game or seeking an end.
I hate you, Brady.
Did he post a link?
Give me.
It's $65.
Sorry, just to Brady interrupts us right here. Posting a link on Etsy to the actual Tunic fucking manual. Oh my god, no.
Holy
my
shit,
money.
Yeah, I will be buying that.
Yeah. 100%.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. Continue.
No problem at all.
Fuck you, Brady.
Clearing the game or seeking an end. So this is a complement to the other page, which started option A, take your rightful place. It continues, or B, share your wisdom. It translates to, wisdom that is untempered by kindness is no wisdom at all. Be free. Use the power of the Holy Cross and traverse the golden path. And, yeah, so you've got the manual now. It's completed.
100%.
What's left to do?
Go talk
beat the
to
game.
the air.
Go beat the game.
Yeah, let's go fight the air. Only
So
when you get there, you don't fight him. You're about to get struck down, then all of a sudden he realizes something. You're holding the manual.
the air looks down, and the air to the air holds up a completed manual to the game, looks through it, and realizes, oh, the cycle can be broken. And sure enough, this shatters this effect that was on the air to the air, giving them this like towering, daunting, bright blue visage. And that's just shed. And what's standing in front of you is another fox wearing the same tunic, the same little neckerchief, and is just slightly older. And they reach out, they embrace, and the credits roll.
This time, instead of empty scenery, you see your character and the air in their corporeal forms just hanging out in the world, having a good time.
And this is the true end to Tunic. What a beautiful game. I really, really like this. I love the sharing your knowledge, because that's kind of what a lot of these old games were about. There were things that some people didn't realize. The school ground rumors of how to unlock Sonic and Smash, right? Like sometimes they were fake, Mew under the truck, but sometimes they were real. The Konami code actually gave you infinite lives. And there are things that you don't know necessarily, but if you reach out, you talk to people, you interact, you share the game that you love, and you share your knowledge of it, it makes the game even more fun. I mean, being able to sit with you guys, chat about, like, oh yeah, if you use the magic rod in tune with the magic dagger at the same time, you can shoot the ice effect. Like, that's not something that's explicitly told. It's something you can kind of infer through some of the symbolism in the memo section. But what a good game.
Like, the fact that we're going on 3 hours in this recording right now, and you keep this in fandom, just is a testament to how much heart was actually poured into this game, how much thought was put into it and everything, and the fact that, we're just passing knowledge along the entire time. And we're each, there wasn't a day that one of us played this that we did not send a message in the group chat saying a new discovery that we found. Like, we were all locked into this game, and this game's just a testament to how much heart matters in a game.
I want to go ahead and just give my rating for the game before we talk. There's a couple more things I want to touch on, but to kind of conclude things before we get to the super secret segment, play this game. If you haven't already and you watch this, you're gonna miss out on a little bit having some of the knowledge of the game, but still go play this game. Try to go into it as blind as you can. This is one of the best experiences I've had playing a game in a very, very, very long time.
I will say, even if you have been spoiled, solve the golden path on your own. Find each of the directions that you need to use on your own. Because doing that alone is enough to actually, really capture the essence of what the golden path is in this game.
Yeah. So are we giving our ratings for the game?
Go for it.
Yeah. I cannot recommend this game enough. Really felt like a callback to the golden age of video games, when all that Konami code and sharing secrets on the playground was a fun thing that you did in video games. Really calls back to that era. I would rate this game a 10 out of 10. It's not a AAA game, but I cannot think of a thing this game could have done to make itself better except just be more of it. Yeah, I say 10 out of 10.
I'm going to go ahead and follow up on that. I've already made my opinions very well known, but I'm also going to give this a 10 out of 10. This is an indie game. This is in a year where, you know, fucking masterpieces like Elden Ring have come out. This is probably, not to spoil the end of the year one, but is in very high contention for my game of the year, if not game of the decade. I know it's early on in the decade, but it's... I have a love for this game that I cannot express, honestly. I just want everyone to play it. I think that's the best way to show love for this game, is to tell people about it. Please go play this game. It's so good. It's so good.
The easiest way to sum up my rating for this game is that if I had to pick one game out of every series, just specifically barring that, this game easily makes my top 5. If I include multiple games from the series, top 10, which is also my rating, by the way. This game's 10 out of 10. Play it. I've found very few games that I've enjoyed on multiple different aspects as much as this one. My God, if I hope that Finji, it's Finji, right?
I believe so, yes.
I hope that Finji keeps putting out stuff like this. I want the guy who came up with this to make more like this. Like, I don't care how long it takes. I'll wait another 15 years for a game like this. This is fantastic.
All right. I think that's going to wrap up our main thoughts.
All right. I guarantee you Brady did not solve the final puzzle.
Yeah, I did not. I've been dying to know what it was.
There's two bigger secrets to this game. Did y'all find the customization room?
The what?
The what?
There's a secret customization room where you can go through, you can change the color of your tunic, change the color of your fox, and change the color of your bandana.
Fuck!
What?
Yep. I will point it out. I'll circle it for you and point it out on the map. But yeah, you can go through. I stumbled upon it pretty early on. It is on the left side in the overworld, that section where the small waterfall is at, and there's the two twin statues with the the spiral staircases.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If you go to the one on the left side, you can go behind those trees and go down. There's a little path that takes you underneath. There's nothing that hints at this in the game.
Oh, wait. Okay.
If you go down here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is below the Tunic page that's sitting in that on that single pillar.
Yes, this is very close to that.
I did find this room. I did not know what it was.
There is an area where you can go down. There's a chest in here. You open up the chest. There is an extra coin that you can use to throw into the well. But if you go a little bit deeper, there's a bunch of different areas where you can walk behind and change your color. Here, I'll post a real quick video.
We'll watch this later on.
Yeah.
We won't include this one.
Yeah, but it's just a testament to, there's a lot of secrets in this game. So that's super cool. Now I want to talk about
the reverse golden path.
Yep. There is a secret area in here. There's some puzzles that are hinted at in the memo section and kind of hidden throughout the book. Brady, did you ever find any of the secret collectibles? They were
they were gold statues.
When you unlocked them, they appeared as crystal chests, and you opened them and they were gold statues.
Yeah, I think I found one of those. Definitely didn't find more than one.
Oh, was it the triple skulls or the quadruple skulls, by chance?
I think so.
Did you push a bunch of skulls into a hole?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's the one he found. That's the one I found before I realized they were actually secrets.
There are 12 of these hidden throughout the game. You'll have to go through and look them up and how to find them yourself, or dig back into the game. I would highly recommend digging back into the game because they're super fun. One of them is actually right at the windmill. If you look at the windmill really closely, there's actually directional arrows.
Fuck, I love solving this puzzle. Damn.
So as it goes by, you can input the directions, and once you input all of them, a crystalline chest will appear, and you'll be able to collect one of your secret treasures. Now, if you collect all 12 of these secret treasures, you can go into the little house that's in the small town. go back through the secret room, go all the way to the end, and there is an area where you can actually walk down instead of crossing over a little like pit with a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
You can go down instead, and it'll take you into like a trophy room, so you can see all these different items. If you look at page 54 in the memo book, you can kind of see an outline of what this room will look like. So if you solve every single puzzle in the game, get all 12 secret collectibles, like a gateway unlocks there. You can step into it, and you appear in a place that people have referred to as the Glyph Tower. There is basically a tower with a bunch of the glyphs that you would see in the booklet, but it doesn't really make much sense even if you do translate it.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is on page 54 of the manual, at the very bottom it says, for additional support and secrets, number 1, find some rare golden statues. Number 2, traverse the glow to visit 12 strange beings. Number 3, unsing to them the greatest song, the song of the golden path as seen from within. So this is what I was referring to when I said do the golden path backwards to then solve a puzzle. It's this one. So you have to go into this room and without messing up at all, enter the golden path backwards. This doesn't do anything initially. You notice as you're inputting the directions, the glyphs will shift and change, but eventually, once you're done, you can kind of walk around the tower, the camera will shift, and you'll be able to see a bunch of different glyphs. If you translate these glyphs, you get a URL.
What?
I want y'all...
I've seen it, but
You've seen it?
But I will do it again. Yeah, I googled this, but
it goes to https:// do you fear the eyes of the far shore.co. Brady, will you go ahead and take a look?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I'm
fearing
a little
it.
Creeped out.
I'm fearing it.
I fear it.
So there's a couple little things to this. It has been quote unquote solved. I think this is an indication for a potential sequel.
Yeah.
If anything, if you download the MP3 that's on the website here, check its properties, you'll find a message that says "Thank you for playing," which is very sweet. But you can take it a step further, and
it makes sound.
Yep. If you drop that audio file into a Spectrum analysis tool and tweak the audio for a little bit, some more symbols appear on this fucking page, and they can be translated as well. And it basically just translates into "We are the eyes of the far shore."
Okay.
So this is fucking terrifying.
I guess I don't need to sleep tonight. That's cool. That's fine.
But yeah, this is the final puzzle of the game. That's as far as it goes to our knowledge.
There's got to be something.
There's a couple references to the far shore in the manual on page 6. The name is simply written on the top right, and on page 18 it's referenced in the message, "Warning, pilgrims to the shore are stripped of this false power." And that's just like referring to when you get all of your stuff stripped away from you in the game, like all your upgrades. But that is it. That is the extent of it. We have this weird shadow creature haunting our dreams.
See, what they didn't tell you is you're supposed to get the physical copy of Tunic, and you put it in upside down, and then you play it, and that's where Tunic 2 is.
That's it. That's Tunic 2.
Please don't do that, disclaimer.
But yeah, that's it. That's all I've got for y'all. This game's fantastic.
Oh,
please go play this game.
Like, there's just so many like small things that we could like just gush and talk about for much longer, but nah, we need to cut it here because Phantom is going to be furious with us whenever we send her each a
3.5 hours.
Yeah, 3.5 hours worth of shit. But you know what? It's a good game.
Love you, Phantom. Don't murder us, please.
But anyway, that's gonna do it for today. Thank y'all for tuning in. Go play Tunic. And Brady, I believe it was your choice, so What are we playing for this next one?
Our next game on the docket is Sniper Elite 5. We're gonna go shoot some fucking Nazis.
I've only played one Sniper Elite game, so this will be interesting.
This is my first one.
Fuck yes.
It's fun.
I'm ready to shoot Hitler's testicle. Anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Thank y'all once again. Y'all have a fantastic night, morning, whenever you're listening to this. And, yeah, thank y'all for tuning into the Joystick Frequency. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.